criminal prosecution where necessary. Impersonation cases will attract severe sanctions, including barring candidates from sitting KCSE until 2027. The marking of the Kenya Junior Secondary Education Assessment is ongoing, and all efforts are being made to ensure results are released by the 11th of December 2025. This will enable the ministry to conduct placement of learners into senior school based on their strengths and interests in the 3 pathways.
Sisi yetu ni kutengeneza mazingira mema ya kuhakikisha kwamba uchaguzi imefanyika bila shida yoyote kabisa, kwa sababu tume hili inaongozwa na commissioners ambazo wana experience ya kutosha, na bila shaka pia tuko na secretariat ambayo imefanya election kwa miaka mingi sana, na tunahakika ya kwamba maandalizi haya yamefika kiwango ambayo tunahitaji ifike.
Serikali iharakishe uchunguzi na wale makaliprit, kwa maana wameonekana kwa kamera ni watu ambao serikali iko na mkono mrefu. Tunajua DCI watafanya kazi yao, waharakishe kazi yao ambayo wanafanya, wahakikishe kwamba hawa watu wameshikwa na wamepelekwa korokoroni, wamepelekwa kotini, ili huyu mtu aweze kupata justice, yeye na familia yake, na sisi kama watu wa bodaboda tuweze kupata haki. Na pia ikuwe funzo kwa watu wengine ambao wangetaka tu kushika mtu wa bodaboda, kumuibia na kumuua na kufanya nini, waweze kukoma. Na pia tunataka kupatiana warning. Sisi hatutaki kwenda zile barabara mbaya ambazo zinafanya watu wanafanya maandamano, watu wanapigana, watu wanafanya nini. Hapana, sisi sekta tumetoka mbali, tumereform na tumejua kwamba kuna njia ya kufuata sheria. Sasa hizi sisi ni viumbe dhaifu, kwa sababu sasa kama unaweza peleka mzigo mahali na uone unataka mtu anataka kuchukua advantage kwako, tukue makini unapopeleka mzigo. Pengine usiingie kwa nyumba ya mtu kwanza, kwa maana wewe umeleta delivery yako, usiingie kwa nyumba. Simama kwa mlango, akupee pesa yako, umpe mzigo wako, uende nyumbani. So security starts with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Wayua, and this is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
And yes, good evening and welcome. This is Radio Generation, the home of hard truths and bold insights. That is on 88.8 here in Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa, and also on our social media platforms at Radio Gen KE. You are able to tune in and join the show that is about to start right now. But before we start, I hope you had a great week, because I know it has been quite a very busy week. So I hope you had a great week, just like mine. And I'm also joined by my guest here. There are people who are not new to you. These are people that you've been with some few weeks ago. So they are also going to tell us how their week has been as we start the show, the Generation Report, that runs from 7 p.m. up to 10 p.m. Here we unpack all big stories that happened in the course of the week. We are talking of ODM at 20. Tumeona kule kuna mgawanyiko, tumeona mambo mengi sana yanafanyika pale. Kuanzia wakati walikuwa kule Mombasa, tumeona a lot happening. This week also the nation was eager, waiting to hear what the president had when he had that joint sitting with the Senate and the MPs. Therefore, we are going to unpack all those stories and ensure that we keep you updated, and also in a different perspective, like how you view these things, because we together want to inform decision making in the country. We also want to shape opinions in this country, in this nation, and even in East and the whole of Africa, actually, in general, because whatever conversations that we are having here, they are not only for Kenya. We are talking about what is happening in East Africa, what is happening in Africa, and actually what is happening in the entire world. Therefore, you are welcome so that we can do this together. So I am with my friends here. I mean, I'm just calling them my friends because they are always coming in, and we are doing this together. They are going to introduce themselves. Then now we are going to start the show. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much for this opportunity once again. My name is Pijino Dimwengu, as you all know me. You know me in various capacity. Some know me as the then presidential aspirant. Some know me as either the 2027 presidential aspirant. Some know me as Pan-Africanist. Some know me as a policy and strategist. And above all, others know me as a party leader for Accountability and Transparency Party. So that's who I am.
Just hold on. Hapo kwa presidential aspirant, maybe kuna watu hawajui what really happened. You're going to tell us. But let's get to Victor also, so that he introduces himself.
Thank you for the opportunity once more. I was here last week and I really enjoyed the show. My name is Maube Victor. I'm the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Economic Freedom Fighters, and I'm also a Kenyan citizen by birth. So I'm here to defend my country and also to speak about the current unfoldings about what has transpired in our country lately. Thank you.
Wiki yako imekuwaje?
It's been a nice week. We thank God. We are here back again. We thank Him for the gift of life. But nevertheless, we've seen a lot that has transpired, especially in the political space. We saw the president giving the State of the Nation address. Hope Kenyans can get an opportunity to give the actual state of address, the actual state of the nation. Not an address, but the actual state of the nation.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot which has transpired, but we thank God we are here. We are alive and kicking. Thank you.
Let's get back to Pidgin. Tuambie, anasema kwamba alikuwa a presidential aspirant. So for those of you who have never heard him introduce himself, this is the time you get to know more about Pidgin.
Yeah, thank you very much. Politics is something either in my DNA, whether you call it the Juogi thing, is either in me. I don't need the Raila one. Because I was born up being told my story of my grandfather was a serious, you call it advocate or activist of his own age back then. But yes, I started politics, I think, in 2019, immediately 1 year after my graduation from campus, started forming a political party, which I thought was a right space for young people and new leaders to get into politics and challenge this. And because that process was not successful back then, when I saw Raila Odinga and William Ruto being on the ballot, I said, I want to be there. I wanted to be in the midst of these people. And I was sure I was going to beat them 10-in. If I was to be on the ballot 2022, nakwambia huyo hustler fake angekuwa hapo bana. I was to be there because the real hustlers were ready to make change. And I was saying hii opportunity ngenipata tu hapa ndani, mimi ndo ningekuwa huyo hustler rais. But things went on. I was actually shortlisted. I went through the processes of presidential clearance with the IBC. I presented my running mate. But I only stopped in the last moment when the IBC required that I present the photocopies of IDs of those who are endorsing my presidential bid. One thing that I need to make clear is that if you are running for presidency, you need to produce 48,000 signatures of citizens across the country that support your presidential bid.
48,000
signatures.
And they are photocopies of IDs.
Now that was the last part that came in. When they realized the list was still successful, they decided to say, come with photocopies of IDs. Well, in that form, there was nowhere you put the contact of a person. And those forms probably have come from the counties down there. You already have them in Nairobi. You take them to ABC, you unambia natafuta photocopy yao. So how do you go back and get the photocopies? And that's why it was very impossible, even for those 4 candidates, including William Ruto probably, to go back to those who signed the form to get the photocopy of the right people signed the form, which means they used means that were not clear enough for them to be cleared as candidates. And we challenged this in court later on. The case is still in court actually. The court said it was not right and constitutional for IBC to demand that you take a photocopy of somebody from the village and take it to IBC just to confirm that that person has endorsed your candidature. But then that case came around July, but the IBC requested, because the election is 1 month ahead, please allow us to go ahead with the elections, because that means that we're not going to have elections. So allow us to go ahead with the elections, then we can implement that rule come 2027. But 2 things that I wanted also to demystify in that process that many citizens need to be aware of. Citizens still think that to be a presidential candidate, you must be 35 years. And that's a notion many citizens still have. I was 26. And I presented a running mate who was 50-something years. And he was ready to be my running mate. An engineer. He was ready to be my running mate. I was never stopped because of age. The second thing that citizens also need to understand, you say that for you to be a president, you must not be bankrupt or you have $1 million or something like that. Clearly, I was never requested any money throughout that process. The only time you pay is when IBC have now cleared even those signatures. So now you transfer from being as aspirant to a candidate. And for a young people like myself, you only pay 100,000 to be a presidential aspirant.
Okay. Well, I understand when they talk of bankruptcy, they are talking about the ability. You know, there are people who are declared bankrupt.
Yes.
Somebody who cannot own a thing, anything in the country.
Yes. And those bankrupts, funny thing, we have even seen millionaires declaring
themselves bankrupt.
No, they've even been declared bankrupt. Because you see, the element is that I think being bankrupt, and we'll get more definition on this from experts, is when you have negatives than the positive you have. For example, if your account has 1 million, now kuna deni 100 million. Basically, you cannot afford it, you see? But if you have something in your account, then you are not bankrupt. Hata kama ni 10 bob ama 20 bob.
You are not.
Yeah, but the key thing also was there was a budget that came in with the IBC. Remember that they capped the amount for campaign. That for presidents you must not spend more than 3 billion. It was 3 or 4 billion for presidential campaign. Then for MP around a certain amount. So it doesn't mean that you must have 3 billion to contest for presidency. They only say that if you want to campaign for presidency, you should not use more than 3 or 4 billion. But that does not stop you even ukiwa na 100,000 to still campaign. You can still do it. So those are key things that we need to understand. Even as we move towards 2027, people must get those information and those facts very clearly so that we prepare well for the election. Yes.
Okay, so that people don't shy away from the elections. Anyway, you are welcome, dear listener. I know you are so eager to understand what has really been happening in the course of the week. And to start us off today is ODM. Actually, it is a thing that not even this week, even last week, it was an issue because as they met at the coast for the ODM at 20, we saw what really happened. We saw I saw Winnie Odinga saying something which is quite different from what we were expecting. Like as a family. Like we expected that she would agree with the uncle, that is Oburu, but we saw something quite different. Now, again, there is something that has happened. I think, is it today or yesterday? So let's hear what Sabot MP Caleb Amisi said about ODM.
Sisi watu ambao tuliongea na Raila alituambia tarehe 9 mwezi wa 3 2026 ndio ilikuwa siku ya mwisho kuungana na William Samoei Ruto. And we are here to tell the people of ODM, prepare for state of emergency in the party to relieve you out of Ruto's government. That is the last time we were supposed to be with William Ruto. Hamwezi kutuambia ati tungoje 2027. 2027 na shaa inaharibika.
I think hiyo ndio imekuwa shoka ya wiki kabisa ile, like umesikia I mean Caleb is a significant a member of ODM, one of the leaders, key leaders in ODM, and it is somebody that akiongea most of the time tunasikiza tunajua there's something. So after watu wameenda kule Mombasa wamezungumza, tumeona kule Joho akisema kuna wengine ndio wataenda, hii chama itavunjika. Kuna wale wamesema kwamba we must stay in government because the former leader alituacha pale. And ulisikia pia speech ya Winnie akiwa huko akizungumza akisema kwamba there are some people wanataka kuuza chama, wanakaa katika mikutano kule ndani wanauza chama. And again, what came out, what was so loud last week was the aspect of that ODM is a party born out of demonstrations. Yeah, it is a party born out of I think it is a party of the people those people who used to feel like they are oppressed in the country. So that is how it was born, according to some of the members there. And actually even us tunaona na tunajua, tumeona the journey of ODM. So this is the shocker now of this week, that amesema kwamba ilikuwa wakae pale mpaka when March 2026 ndio wanasema kwamba walikuwa wameambiwa wakae pale. So I don't know, Sijui maoni yako ni yepi kuhusiana na hiyo story kufikia hapo mambo ya ODM.
It's very interesting. I've been watching the ODM drama. One, I don't think any member of ODM who is a member of parliament is an oppressed person. So even though ODM was born out of streets and those protests and of the oppressed, I don't think there's any member of parliament in ODM who is calling himself an oppressed or anybody who call himself to be on the streets. None of them. In fact, the members of ODM, the citizens, are the one who have been oppressed and the one who have been on the street and the one who have been killed.
Yes.
I have not seen any ODM MP who has been killed in the protest, in the streets, anywhere. But the second thing we must also realize that we know the history of ODM. That the ODM was not founded by Raila Odinga. That the ODM was founded by that Meru guy. And Raila Odinga went to buy ODM from the guy. We know it very well. But then in the process of party formation, one thing we must realize that once a party is registered, either you can sell the party, and selling the party does not mean that you given money, then those don't always happen behind the curtain, so we don't know how. But the only thing as founders and the registered, whoever registers the party, you can introduce changes. So you can call in, maybe if you are 5 of you who found a party, then you want to bring new people in. So you can have a meetings of those founders, then send minutes to the registered political party that we are introducing these new members to be part of members of the party or to be officials of the party. And therefore, any member who came in, and I've been seeing everybody saying, Ruto saying he's a founding member. A founding member, a party that has already been registered cannot be founded twice. The only person who founded ODM is the person whom you have been seeing, I don't know, Imanyara or somebody, the guy from Meru.
Who registered it.
That is the only person who founded a party. Because party is not being founded twice. Unless you change the party name to something else, then you are saying you are founding it. When I founded ATP in 2019, when it was not able to go to the ballot in 2020, it was deactivated. When I went back, I had to come up with the founding members because it was already registered, but was deactivated because it did not meet the process. So whoever claims to be a founding member of ODM, including that Raila Odinga and Akina William Ruto, there are people who bought ODM, not founders of ODM.
Well, but I tend to believe that now when we talk of ODM, we don't just talk of that registered, that party which was registered. We are talking of the strength that party has. We are talking of the influence the party has.
Yes. Now, when we come to the influence that the party has, every person who was there when now ODM become politically active. Now the right of Akina Ruto, Ite Akina, Awote, they must be given credit in the process of ODM. ODM has have so many people who played their part in the registration and where ODM is today. Some have left ODM, but they contributed to ODM to where it is. You see? And that's why you realize sometimes back, I heard today Sifuna was saying, Ruto threatened that he is a founder, he can call a meeting and remove Misimindu, Bado Sekjen. I heard him saying that. Of course, there's no way founders are also recognized again as the party move forward. The party don't recognize members of the party. So if you are no longer an ODM member, Ruto cannot go anywhere to claim that he's a founding member of ODM while he's not a registered member of ODM today. So he doesn't have any capacity to come back and threaten a secretary general of a party that he is a founder for ODM. You cannot be in the list of two parties. So that is the first thing Ruto must stop. He should not threaten Sifuna. And Sifuna thinks very clear. He knows what's going on. Now, on the issue of Winnie and Obrodinga, I don't think, and according to the political party's laws, it was actually, and even ODM laws, the party leader in most of political parties have the power to appoint or propose the national executive. Like what ODM did, Raila did before, when he brought in the people like Akina Gladys Wanga, Akina Rati, when he made the changes to other people joining the government. He has the power to do that. But that proposal must be approved by the NDC, the one that was now taking place in Mombasa. That's why there was that approval process.
Yes.
But the national executive do not have power to appoint the party leader. The party leader has to be appointed through a delegates conference.
Yes.
So it was not right for Burudinga, who was not even a deputy party leader, because in normal circumstances, we had assumed that the deputy party leader could have been the party leader automatically until the NDC is conducted. But Burudinga, who was not even an official of party, becoming a party leader in ODM, and saying that the executive had proposed interimly that Obrodinga become the party leader. Which organ of ODM had the power to propose a party leader? So the party leader ought to have been temporary between the three deputy party leaders.
Yes.
Then the election or the meeting in Mombasa could have now come up with electing the party leader. So that is the first mistake they did, and they had their own reasons why they did that. And I think that's why the Winnie thing is now coming in, because Winnie is now protesting because ODM was left kwa mafuta. You call it kwa mafuta. Jua kwa serikali. Sasa stakes ziko juu sana. Kuna watu wanataka kupiga sasa hesabu na hii kitu, unaona? Sasa Oburu Odinga akapata njia yake, labda alicheza na watu fulani akajipata ndio party leader. Now everybody who knows the stake don't want somebody to eat there. So they want to be on the table. And people like of ODM, akina Sifuna wanakuwa na expect kama ODM itarudi kufanya kazi na Ruto, acha sisi ndo tukue hapo kwa table. Si ati Oburu anakuja kutupeleka hapo. You see, that's the way the issue is. And that's why akina Caleb is saying very clearly, we knew the instruction given by our party leader. Na kama ni ukweli ama si ukweli, mwenye anaweza verify ni hao tu wa deputy party leaders. Yao ndo aliongea na Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga yuko leo.
Yes.
And I'm sure at the back of my mind, nilikuwa nimejua Raila hawezi maliza na Ruto. Hiyo 2027 hata mimi I was suspecting. Raila Odinga was buying time, and I've been saying several times, Raila Odinga has always been buying time, but his Canaan compass ijaipotea. He's always in Canaan journey. No matter how long anakuja na kaa kwako, he's always in Canaan journey. So we must expect that ODM itaanza kujigawa. You say kuna watu wako kwa serikali na kuna watu wako kwa serikali.
Sure.
Mtu kama Mbadi haizi pinga Ruto, je, anakula? Atapingaje Ruto? Yeye tayari si no members of parliament, yeye si official wa chama. Sasa akipinga leo aende nyumbani, nani atamsaidia? Mtu kama Joho ana kitu leo. Mtu kama Paranya wana kitu. Au wako kwa serikali, acha wakule. Lakini wasikuje kuambia wenye wako kwa serikali ati tuna support serikali. Yeah, support serikali yako na yake. That's what I can say.
Victor,
Yes.
are we still waiting for more shocks from ODM?
Let me start from the foundation. What I can say is that in this country, political parties are owned by individuals. It's because the foundation of the political parties has a problem. If we look at parties like ANC in South Africa, for instance, it's a pro-people party. It's a party which was born out of the struggle. ODM party was formed by a few men who sat in a room and decided now, I think Kosgei was giving a story, and they say now we need a political party. You don't come out 10 people seated in a room and you say you need a political party. All you do is that go to the people and pose a question. What do you want? How do you want us to register? Do you want us to register as an NGO? Or do you want us to register as a political party, just a movement, or what do you want us to register? And then the people will give you the response. Now, the challenge we are facing in ODM is that Raila Odinga became the face of the party. And once he became the face of the party, everybody was worshipping the party leader instead of worshipping the ideologies and the policies of the party. ODM as a party has ideologies and it has its own policies that it stands for, but very few of the members can actually articulate them and tell you this is what ODM stands for. Now, what is playing out in the ODM party was just expected, because even when Raila Odinga was alive, there were divisions within the party.
Sure.
There are people who are outside in the opposition, and there are people who are pro-government. Now, Raila Odinga came as a neutralizer. He just came and said, okay, Sifuna, you have a right to speak. As much as you disagree with the leadership of the day, you have a right to speak. And then he goes to the people in government and said, we're in broad-based until 2027. So the confusion, it's very unfortunate that Raila went early before giving a clear direction. And you know, ODM has always waited for Baba's direction. I've been an ODM member. When I speak about ODM, I know what I'm talking about. ODM, yes, it has led the revolution in this country. Because I remember there's that time we were going for Baba at the airport when he was coming from the US. I was part of the team which was going for Baba. And what happened, I almost lost my life. Actually, at the roundabout from Langata, you know, the Nyayo Stadium.
Yes.
Almost lost my life because there were bullets flying in the air. But people braved all that because they wanted the party leader to go and address them at Uhuru Park grounds. Right now, Sakaja has destroyed that ground. I don't know what it looks like. So, all I'm trying to say is that the conflict that is being witnessed in ODM, it was anticipated to happen. It's just that at what time? Because we already, you know, the fact that Oburu Odinga was brought in as the deputy party leader, yet he was not anywhere in the list of the deputy as the party leader, and he was not in the list of the deputy party leaders. ODM had 3 party leaders before Raila's demise. What procedure did they use to surpass all these 3 to go and pick someone from the bush? Simply because they are siblings with the former party leader. That tells you that our political parties in this country, they are coiled around individuals. And this kills democracy. Because now, look, there could be family feuds between the Oburu family and the Raila family.
Yes.
You know, when Jaoko is going around meeting people and saying, on behalf of the party, his father has flown out. I don't know who he has gone to meet, right? On behalf of the party.
I saw that sister issued some statements saying that he has gone to at least kupumzika kidogo.
Kupumzika, okay, it's fine. He has gone to pumzika.
It has been chaotic.
It's been chaotic.
Yes.
No, but it's just starting. The show has just started. Because there's a big interest around ODM. ODM has 83 elected members of parliament. And this tells you that they're controlling a large section of the 290 constituencies in the country. So we expect that kind of division. However, what I'd advise young people who are in the ODM party, if you listen to Winnie Odinga's speech keenly, she said that let the people decide. But again, Win knows in her heart that there is no way ODM will survive if they continue being in the broad-based government. And that's why she said that the relationship between the broad-based government and ODM could only be managed by one person. And that person is no longer alive. So this tells you that the young blood in ODM party who believe that they will not side with William Ruto simply because they feel like this government, this regime is not doing justice to the people. And there is that faction of the old guards who are reaping from the fruits of this, the revolution. Now, all I want to say about the entire scenario is this. We are ushering in the third liberation. And this is something that everyone needs. We are beating around the bush so long. We are ushering in the third liberation. The first one, our fathers got us away from the colonizers, who are the fathers of the Jaramogis, the Kenyattas, and so on. The second one is when the Raila Odinga was the face of the second liberation, where they fought for democracy and, my brother Pidgin has a political party. All that democracy was fought by the age of Raila. Now we are in our own generation. We don't care who is president. And that's why when we went to the streets on June 26th, we told them, we are partyless, we are leaderless. We don't care who is there as long as you're doing the right thing. So this tells you that this generation is ready to rise above all the aspects that have always put this country to where we are right now. And in the fight for economic liberation, you'll not care who you're fighting. You can fight your brother because someone has looted a lot of billions of shillings, right? The way it's happening in this country with the shares and so on. If you go to the bank account today or the registrar of lands or wherever, all those properties are registered under the individual name of that person, not the tribe, not the family, not anything. And that's why sibling rivalry is playing out inside the ODM party. So we did not just realize that we are in a different phase, we are in a different revolution, and that is the economic liberation. Now, as we proceed forward, ODM is going to split into 3, already split into 3. First, there are those old guards in government, people who have nothing to lose, like Inajo, they've served their second term, we have those who are seeking re-election again, but they are within the ODM party. And again, we have the young Turks who believe that they have what? They have a political future and they need to put their record straight, the Babu Owinos and the Sifunas. They are calling themselves Kenya Moja. Actually, they were in Kisii, yesterday. Kenya Moja, led by Edwin Sifuna, Obadia Barongo. I saw them. So this tells you that there is a new face which is coming out. It's just that people have not realized it. But I'm glad that we are here to lead that revolution, the economic freedom fighters. And that's why I'm here at the CIC as the the commander-in-chief of the Kenya Economic Freedom Fighters.
I think that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Let's hear what you want to add something before we move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I want just to say that the ODM must be aware of 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
One, that the people who loved Raila Odinga probably died with Raila Odinga. And therefore, the ODM should not count for those who love Raila Odinga to be lovers of ODM. Those two different things. The people who respected Raila Odinga because he joined the broad-based government respected Raila Odinga, not ODM. So if ODM want to remain in broad-based, the people who respected Raila Odinga will not remain there. And the last thing is that it is time the ODM must build its members without anybody influential that they are supporting. Because over a period of time, people join ODM because of Raila. And ODM cannot sustain that membership because Raila is gone. And they want to move around. That's why people are having issues. Nobody is in that ODM because they loved ODM. Most of them were there because they love Raila or they respect Raila. So ODM must start the journey to prepare its members. Not somebody who love Raila Odinga or love Oburu Odinga or love whatever. And that is where the task of ODM is. The heart of people who loved ODM never loved ODM without Raila. Remove Raila from ODM, they are gone. Even if Raila today was to join UDA, those people could have followed Raila to the same UDA. They will not remain in ODM. So ODM has realized that they don't have membership. Raila had membership. They should start working on party membership, not depending on those who whether Raila was moving up with. That's what I wanted to say.
Well, just to remind the listener, this is Radio Generation, the home of hard truths and bold insights. And the show that you are listening to right now is the Generation Report. It is a collection of the big stories of the week. And it's not just a collection. We just dive in and ensure that we give you different perspectives from the different opinions that our analysts here are giving. So please stay tuned. If you want to listen to us on our social media platforms, Radio Gen KE, please do so. That is on X, on YouTube, and also on Facebook. You are able to join. For those of you who want to listen to us through the normal FM, please, Nairobi 88.8, in Mombasa 90.7. The Generation Report. Let's hear what Murkomen said about Kasipul.
Huko sehemu ya Kasipul, MCS wa sehemu mbalimbali kwa by elections zinakuja kwa wiki mbili ambayo iko mbele yetu. Ninawaomba tufuate sheria na tunahakikisha ya kwamba kila mmoja apewe nafasi kufanya kampeni kwa njia ya amani. Watu wauze sera zao na mwishowe sisi wote tukishapiga kura, mwenye atashinda ni yule ambaye ako na sera ambayo wananchi wamekubali.
Well, right now we are in a campaign mode, and especially for the by-elections that are supposed to happen next week, that is on 27th of November. And what we have witnessed so far, and especially with Kasipul, is that is an area that is full of chaos when it comes to politics. And of course, I think last week we also, there were some deaths of two people because of the chaos that happened there. And also in other places we also witnessed such kind of chaos. And last week they were summoned. I think the key aspirants in Kasipul, they were summoned by IEBC, and of course IEBC had indicated that just in case that tukipata wako na makosa, some of them are risking being dislisted from the aspirants. And what happened this week was that they were fined 1 million each this week. Is this the right way to go?
Very interesting. As you said, they are very interesting by-elections. And the three of them is very interesting. But I'll start with that Kasipul, because the Mbere one is very interesting.
And the Malava.
And the Malava one.
Yes.
And now the Kasipul one.
Those three.
They're very interesting. One, I want to actually take it very serious that at least IBC did something. It may not be something worth enough, but at least they have fined them. That money is not something big for them. They could have just disqualified them. That's what I propose. Rather than fining them, just disqualify them. Because there are other candidates. There are not only two candidates there.
Yes,
there are other candidates that are there.
Yeah, yes.
And these candidates have actually chosen to walk by the law. Then two of them decide to go that direction. Why do you just disqualify them? Because in constitutions of parties, there are now acts where individual member of the party must take responsibility. But we know there's a lot of conflict going on there. And I love the Kasipul. I'm from Omaba anyway. So Kasipul is a neighboring constituency. I love Kasipul. Because here is where the deputy governor is actually campaigning for the other guy, Otete. They call him Otete. While the governor, because the virtue of being a chairperson of ODM, is campaigning for Boyd. One thing I'll say is that I don't think that this politics of sympathy, when your husband, when your father and the rest die and then you inherit, should stop. Because it doesn't mean that political positions are for families or for spouses. We elect a person because of their qualities. And when they either die, as it happens, the quality is not transferred to the children. So it was wrong for ODM in the first place to choose that young man. Because by the virtue that his father died, so we want him to continue. Want him to continue for what? I don't support that. So that violence and what IBC did there is very good. It's a good step in the right direction, but they actually ought to do more. But the one that is also very interesting for me is the Mbeere one, where the battle is on the battleground. Mm-hmm. The refugees there for weeks.
Yes.
And now the deputies there also for days. They are all camping on the ground. I wish these people could be camping on the ground every day to do development, but not to do politics that they're doing today. If they could be camping every day to do development, we could have appreciated that. But tell me, what is the value of that MP that makes a deputy president to camp in the ground every day? Is it for what benefit to the people of the ground? And it's very surprising that I learned that man from UDA is called Leonard. Leonard, I know Leonard. Leonard was running for governorship, Embu County, I think in 2017. And now he's going for MP. I've now seen the scandal that was in the headline. I think it was today. The scandal on how he disappeared with some money from KNH. And I think that public scrutiny is very important, because sometimes you have avoided public scrutiny of people who go for offices. So it's very important that his image comes clearly and people scrutinizing that you, Leonard, you did this and this and this. But they're tigers, because you have Lenny Kivuti and you have former chief, he was the Attorney General, Muturi.
Yes.
That is his home. And Kivuti, who was also running for governorship, who was a former senator of Embu, that is home. And now you have Kindiki, who is the neighbor. Because the Taraka people and the Mere people are neighbors. In fact, they're one people.
Yes.
So this is a contest of the heart between Kindiki, proving himself that he's also a king in his lower home, and Gachagua extending his power from central to the lower side. So this is the battlefield, you see. But above all, I think they should look, and the citizens should look at the quality of leadership. Let them earn money now. I know his salary every day there. I'm told it's 1,000 or 500. You can go there for 1 week and you come back with someone to pay your rent in Nairobi. It's very interesting. But the citizens should not be taken into that drama of whether UDA or DP or whatever. They should look at quality of leadership. And sometimes the best leaders might be the silent one. Not even the ones from the camp of DP or the camp of UDA. There might be some best leaders there who do not belong to these camps. So I think the citizens must exercise some scrutiny to get their best leader, not the popular leader. But the Malava one again is where Parnyako is. And I'm told Farouk has also camped there for days. In fact, to an extent that now he's speaking Kiluya. I think we treat elections as a drama. And I don't know why are these people so desperate of this. Does it mean that they want to earn or take something from us? Because you see Malava and Seth is there, Seth Panyako. Is a person who is known. But now you see what happened today when they actually shot at Natembea. Just today, some hours ago, when Natembea was there was a shooting that happened. So it means ni ubabe wa Western between wale wababe wakubwa akina Wetangula, akina Mudavadi, and the new young tax akina Tawe and the rest of the DAP party. Yes. But I think we cannot stop a revolution in mind. It's time sometimes that the old ideas must die and the new ideas are coming up. And therefore they should not go that extent of violence. Let them allow the people to campaign in a peaceful way. But I'm surprised at how the president has sent his all lieutenants to the ground. Farouk is the best of the president camping in the Western, and Kindiki camping somewhere else.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
Wacha tusikie kutoka kwa Victor.
First of all, it's sad that in Kisa East, the MP was attacked. The home was attacked. Secondly, when you look at the by-elections, it's interesting, as my brother said, there's a lot of violence that is manning these by-elections, and there's the money factor. There's so much money. The other day I heard Fred Matiang'i complain that there are 3 by-elections in Nyamira County for the ward, the Nyamira ward, the ward by-elections. And the campaigns were being done by choppers in a ward. Yeah, how long does a chopper even take to go past one ward to the other? So that plays again the same thing that is playing in Mbere. And again, the Kasipul one, what I can comment is that ODM needs to scrutinize their relationship with UDA because they have a coalition. But again, Aroko, who is an independent candidate, got support from the UDA, the UDA team in Kasipul. So this tells you that even within the broad-based government, there are still some power tussles that are going on. So when you look at Western Kenya, Natembe has been attacked the way you said, and the MP was attacked. This tells you that they're actually attacked today. This tells you that Wetangula is trying to secure his Bungoma votes, because wherever Wetangula comes to the bargaining table, he usually comes with his 1 million votes from Bungoma. That's what he usually says. So, but coming down to the people, what does the people want, right? What does the people want? I want to join in the conversation of Nganga, that this guy who is saying about let people read the constitution. Let people understand what is the role of leaders. For Rigiji to go and camp in Mbere, for the deputy president to go and camp in Mbere, this shows you how important leadership is to these leaders. And this shows you how important the voter can be, especially when they realize the power that they hold. Now, look at what is happening in Kisii. Just wards, by-elections of a ward, and the president is there today, actually. Matiang'i has been camping there since yesterday. So all these power plays, William Ruto trying to prove himself, and he's trying to show these people that as much as you call yourself the united opposition, I still have power to take you head on. Because William Ruto is taking these people head on by himself, where else you look at the united opposition, there is the by-election for, is it Mombasa? Where there is one also, there is also one in Machakos. So all these are there to show whether the so-called community kingpins, or rather the community leaders, will retain their zones, or rather this is there to show whether the Gen Z revolution bore any fruits. Because with the Gen Z revolution, we were trying to revolutionize the mind and tell the people that we need the right people in this parliament. This parliament last week, actually it's this week, they are proposing to increase the price of electricity that we were talking about here last time. It's the MPs who have proposed that we want to increase the cost of electricity by 4.5 shillings. So what is the major factor of production? Electricity is one of the major factors of production. Look at our revenue. It tells you that the people that we've sent to the Middle East coming back, money that was sent from outside, it hit 3 trillion. That's a lot of money. That tells you that the largest export product that we have is human labor. And that tells you that if you want to understand slave trade, the modern day slave trade, come to Kenya. So when you increase electricity, you are going to create unemployment. But again, these people are camping there with money. People are being given money, you know. I heard Silvanus Osoro, the majority whip in the National Assembly, saying that, you know, he was speaking to those locals. He was telling them that there is nothing for free. You know, somebody should not come and ask for leadership without giving you anything. So they're encouraging the handout mentality. And this handout mentality is what has put us to where we are right now. This is a very serious point of debate. And I don't understand where the clergy is. In fact, William Ruto was welcomed today by the church in Kisii, by a leader of the church who is praying to God and telling God, please let the lives of these people be easier. But they're camping there with billions of shillings. So there is no way we are going to fight corruption. There is no way we are going to achieve the Singapore status. There is no way William Ruto is going to achieve and to fund projects worth 5 trillion shillings, as he stated in his address of the nation, if there is a lot of money playing politics at the grassroots level. So money is there to confuse people. As you've said, the candidate from Mbere, he had a scandal. But right now, what is happening is at the ground and people are gathering to listen to him. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that as a country, we still have a lot of civic education to do. As the party leader of ATP, I don't know whether you have the capacity to go and wrestle these party leaders down there at the grassroots. When look at what Farouk Kibet is doing in Western. He has camped there in Western. Seth Panyako was complaining that thugs. He actually did a video yesterday. Thugs have been ferried from Nairobi slums, and they're going there to Malava to wait for him. Actually, they are targeting him. This tells you that there is violence, there is the money factor, and also there is corruption which has been hidden. Why all about this interest?
Maybe a few things to say about your opinions. First of all, of course, you are innocent until you're proven guilty. That is in our constitution, in our law. So whoever ukiona mtu anatembea huku nje freely, they have not been convicted, they have not been declared that they are guilty, so we say they are innocent. So again about the ferrying of you've talked of goons actually. Goons and
thugs. Actually, Fred Panyako said he called them thugs in the video that he did yesterday.
Yes, well, okay, of course those are allegations until maybe it is proven. So the other thing that I wanted maybe to point out is you were asking about this issue of sympathy, like if a leader has passed away, now people want to, it's like they want to reward the family, those people who have been left behind. It's like a kind of a reward. So this week also, remember a section of Isiolo leaders and elders, they called upon one of the children of the late Isiolo South MP, Mohamed Tubi, to be fronted to succeed him also in parliament. So I just wanted to add on whatever you heard about Boyd Were. So.
But I think the Northeastern politics is different. And I think the Northeasterns need to be liberated. I don't know whether they find that is the perfect way of doing politics. It's very hard for young people or even women to succeed to be elected in Northeastern. Because there's that element of still going to the clan, the clan elders to approve you first, then go to whoever. You before even you contest, you must go to the clan. I think it's the right thing when you talk about African traditional setups on how we could do our leadership, so that the clan then can approve you and endorse you to be a leader. But the clans do not endorse you for free in this status. The clan leaders of the Northeastern region are not doing anything to ensure that they give the community the best. But whoever comes with so many ngamias and so many thousands in their pocket are the people the clan elders of Northeastern are going to give positions. And that is contrary or misuse of their position. I still appreciate that democracy, that then you must pass through the clan, the community to approve you and endorse you to go for any position is very good. But when it is being misused by the leaders of the clan, as they're doing in Northeastern, let me tell you, look at the statistics. How many young leaders are coming from Northeastern, even in parliament, or even women? You will hardly hear them because the process is too expensive. And they have to say, oh, you're too young, or you're what and what, and you're what and what. Those are limitations to our democratic process. So I think, as you're saying, that happened. You remember even the Yusuf thing. There was a Yusuf thing that also happened in the other side.
Yes.
But I think it is very important that if you want quality leadership that can serve a country, such methods do not result to any quality leadership. Quality leadership that serves a country must be merit-based, not in any way. And you're saying about being guilty, that is the weakness of the law. Anytime in many countries you are just suspected, you step down. Remember what happened in even Boris in UK. And UK, in fact, changed 3 prime ministers within a short period of time just because of allegations. There's somewhere where people take very high value on integrity and morality of an individual. Yes. In Kenya, even a thief waits to be proven guilty. And you'll have to go to the ballot to be proven. That's a weakness
even
in law.
A killer. Even a killer.
We must amend that in the law. And that's the weakness in law. As long as there's a case that has been stable about an individual, step aside,
yes.
Deal with your case first. When you're proven not guilty or whatever, when the case proceedings are over, come back. But saying that I'm still in the process, they're still confirming. Now, when you get to power and you have now the power to influence the decisions of that your so-called case, what will you do? You'll kill the witness, bribe everybody, the judge, and you're done. So we must actually up our leadership quality by ensuring that it is not about proving guilty. As long as you're suspected or involved in any criminal or corruption, just step aside first.
Well, another thing here also is about like you talked about the Gen Z revolution, and most of the time we have been saying that these by-elections is like a litmus paper. It's something like every other. That's the reason why you're seeing these people are investing so much into these politics to ensure that they grab these seats in these places that we are having the by-elections, because like he has said, they also want to see the power of the Gen Z revolution. What was have people really learned? So I mean this is also something that the listener and also all of us, we also need to take note of that. If really you need change, the issue of just voting for people because they are popular is something that you should forget about.
But I think I want to make a serious point on that.
Yes.
The Gen Zs, my fellow generation, or even the youth, where are we? Where are we in those by-elections? Because it seems that we are still in the streets mentally. We are still waiting for the next protest in the streets. We are not ready to transcend beyond the street to power. It doesn't mean that we will win, but we must move our revolution beyond the streets to the political positions. Now tell me, for example, where are the Gen Z who are contesting those positions in those 3 by-elections? And where is the unity coordinated by the Gen Z to win those elections? So, they're nowhere. Hakuna mahali umesikia ati majenzi wameenda kukampenia jenzi wako hapa. Unaona? If we don't start having such coordinated efforts, 2027 tutaionia kwa kio.
Something I can say about the Gen Zs, I want to put something clear. The Gen Zs went to the streets to seek for, let's say, good leadership, good governance. But again, when you look at the option in the menu, what do we have on the menu? Look at Boyd Were. Boyd Were is a Gen Z. He's a young man. But under whose influence is he running? Under the old guards. Under the old system. We need to have a system change. Because what difference will it make in these by-elections that Boyd Were is elected, right? And Aroko loses. You know? At the end of the day, it will be traced into, it was ODM versus what? UDA. You know, the political parties that still exist are the ones that are still wrestling for this power. So we need something that is made in the image and likeness of young people. What do we really want? This is the question that we need to answer. What do you want? Today, which kind of a country would you want to see? Right? Young people are in the streets, they are learned, but in the end, they are not getting opportunities. What difference will it make to fill those by-elections with people and individuals, but still the system is the same, right? So young people, it's not that they don't want to participate in this political process, but again, they are watching it and they're seeing that we don't fit here. We don't really fit in this system. What do we want, right? How is this government defending content creators, for instance? Right now, Meta is going to pay them less with 5% after KRA passed, laws to deduct 5% tax on all the online wherever revenue that comes out of the online. So this tells you that the policies that are being passed, young people do not agree with them. Of course, a contest is there. We need to take part in the contest. But what are the ground rules of taking part in this contest? And that's where the difference comes in. And the current system favors the older generations. That's why you will find that our mothers are very politically active than us. They know where a meeting has been called tomorrow, which hall, what time, and they will make it there in time. But for us, a meeting has been called. But what am I going to do in that meeting? You know, I'm going to be told to vote piga suti. I'm a piga so that we can defeat this and this. It's a contest between individuals. And that's why we come in as the economic freedom fighters. We need to set precedents for a new generation, you know, a generational mission. A mission that will live longer than us. Sometimes I tend to buy the idea that we need change. And this change came. Nobody knew that the Gen Zs will show up in the streets. Nobody knew that social media was such a powerful tool that could unite young people and send them to the streets, and people could gather in thousands and in all the streets in this country. Nobody knew that would happen, right? And a time has come now. We cannot, as it stands right now, let me be clear. As it stands right now, we are not able to compete with this ruling class.
Okay.
According to our current status, because there's a lot that needs to be done.
Let me cut you short because we are almost at the top of the hour. Then we are going to get back, please.
Okay.
Just hold on that thought.
It's 8 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks. These are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters, the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Triciah, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Triciah, and this is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts. This is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation. Previously on the most talked about morning show in town, the People's Breakfast.
But one thing I have to assure the public, the panel is not going to change the law.
I'm really proud. I mean, the KDF stands tall regionally and internationally, and that's why you have the favor that you see in terms of them being, in the forefront.
A time will come. Where is Saddam Hussein? Where is Libya, Gaddafi? Where is everybody?
The People's Breakfast, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Common ground. With immense courage. No delegation will leave Belém with everything it wants, but every delegation has a duty to reach a balanced deal. First, on protecting people. For millions, adaptation is not an abstract goal. It is the difference between rebuilding and being swept away, between replanting and starving, between staying on ancestral land or losing it forever. Adaptation needs are skyrocketing, and the overshoot will push them even higher. Yet, developed countries' commitment to double adaptation finance this year is slipping away. So, tripling adaptation finance by 2030 is essential. The Loss and Damage Fund, open for business but still largely empty, must be capitalized to easier and easier to access. I urge all funders, bilateral partners, climate funds, multilateral development banks to step up and prevent further tragedies. It's about survival, it's about justice, and for indigenous peoples, it is also about protecting cultures and homelands that sustain our planet's vital ecosystems.
Another group looking for leadership saying, we don't like this, we are in the opposite side, we don't like this program on housing, we don't like this one on health, we don't like the other one. So when the people decide that we want these things done, it is true courts must always help us at the end of the day, in the long term, to ensure that whatever is being run, if it is a program on housing, on health, and so forth, it is done in accordance with the Constitution and the law. But I'm just wondering why, again, in the question of balance, why is it that as an individual litigant, individual citizen who is aggrieved by the implementation of a program that has been passed through by the people in a popular manner, and in fact that administration is now being judged on the basis of those commitments, why should my right as an individual and commercial rights, let me put it that way, maybe commercial rights, maybe I'm not happy with a decision which was made on who implements that program, why should my right as an individual frustrate the implementation of a program which has been approved by the people in a democratic place on an interim basis? Why should my right stop the implementation of a healthcare system, I'm just asking hypothetically, or a housing or whatever other issue program, it can be on education, etc., and arrest the progress of 55 million Kenyans? The question I have, why can't I litigate my right as the rest of the country implements a legitimate program that has been validated by the people, in the event that in the final analysis my right has been violated? I'm sure 55 million people can compensate my damage as one person, but the one person cannot compensate damage caused on 55 million people whose rights to the services delivered by this program have been frustrated by interim orders that have taken 3 years to discharge. I submit.
Investigations are ongoing, and any individual institution found culpable will face the full force of the law under the NEC Act 2012. Measures include the registration of examination centers, nullification of results, disqualification of candidates, and criminal prosecution where necessary. Impersonation cases will attract severe sanctions, including barring candidates from sitting KCSE until 2027. The marking of the Kenya Junior Secondary Education Assessment is ongoing, and all efforts are being made to ensure results are released by the 11th of December 2025. This will enable the ministry to conduct placement of learners into senior school based on their strengths and interests in the 3 pathways.
Sisi yetu ni kutengeneza mazingira mema ya kuhakikisha kwamba uchaguzi imefanyika bila shida yoyote kabisa, kwa sababu tume hili inaongozwa na commissioners ambazo wana experience ya kutosha, na bila shaka pia tuko na secretariat ambayo imefanya election kwa miaka mingi sana, na tunahakika ya kwamba maandalizi haya yamefika kiwango ambayo tunahitaji ifike.
Serikali iharakishe uchunguzi na wale maculprit, kwa maana wameonekana kwa kamera ni watu ambao serikali iko na mkono mrefu. Tunajua hata DCI watafanya kazi yao, waharakishe kazi yao ambayo wanafanya, wahakikishe kwamba hawa watu wameshikwa na wamepelekwa korokoroni, wamepelekwa kotini, ili huyu mtu aweze kupata justice, yeye na familia yake, na sisi kama watu wa bodaboda tuweze kupata haki. Na pia ikuwe funzo kwa watu wengine ambao wangetaka tu kushika mtu wa bodaboda, kumuibia na kumuua na kufanya nini, waweze kukoma. Na pia tunataka kupatiana warning, sisi hatutaki kwenda zile barabara mbaya ambazo zinafanya watu wanafanya maandamano, watu wanapigana, watu wanafanya nini. Hapana, sisi sekta tumetoka mbali, tumereform na tumejua kwamba kuna njia ya kufuata sheria. Sasa hizi sisi ni viumbe dhaifu, kwa sababu sasa kama unaweza peleka mzigo mahali na uone unataka mtu anataka kuchukua advantage kwako, tukue makini unapopeleka mzigo, pengine usiingie kwa nyumba ya mtu kwanza, kwa maana wewe umeleta delivery yako, usiingie kwa nyumba, simama kwa mlango, akupee pesa yako, umpe mzigo wako, uende nyumbani. So security starts with you.
And yes, we are back. This is Radio Generation, the home of hard truths and bold insights. The show that you are tuned in right now is the Generation Report, a collection of the happenings, great stories of the week. And it's not just a collection. We dive deeper to give it a different perspective, to give you a different perspective of the different happenings of the week. And this week, of course, tumekuwa na story mingi sana. Tumezungumzia masuala ya ODM. Right now, we are still on elections. there's still more lined up for you. So stay tuned in. This is 88.8. That is Radio Generation here in Nairobi, 90.7 Radio Generation in Mombasa and its environs. Radio Gen KE, that is on our social media platforms. That is on X. Right now on X, we have many people tuned in live. That is on our X platform at Radio Gen KE. We have lots of people tuned in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just in case you have anything that you need to add on our conversations, please do so on our, that is on that live. And you can also follow us on our YouTube Radio Generation. Therefore, you can be also able to share your comments there. You can share your opinions also on our YouTube. We are going to read read your comments here. Therefore, feel at home. This is Radio Generation home. Therefore, right now we are going to get into we are going to continue with the conversation that we had. Nakumbuka nimekukat short and you are so high on that conversation. Actually, nilikuwa nadhani umeshajisahau. Yeah, so we are going to get back to that conversation all about elections, and we had already touched about the Kasipul. We've tackled Malava. We have also talked of the Mbeere by-elections that tumesema ziko na a lot of chaos, a lot of budgets, pesa ziko huko nyingi sana. I saw the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua akisema kuna a lot of money ambazo zimewekwa kule, and again also that is an allegation actually. We also heard about the current deputy president pia call out the opposition, telling them, you people, you don't have any agendas. I also heard him call out Gachagua, asking him, I know you're in politics, yes, asking him, you've been the deputy, you were a deputy president, tell the people of Mbeere what you did to them. Umewafanyia nini wana Behere? So a lot is really happening. It's all about politics, and what is coming out is the aspect of we really want to see how powerful are these these parties right now after the Gen Z revolution, because I think that is what because we knew very well that after the revolution we are going to see a change in the political landscape, and maybe we are waiting to see. But sasa swali ni Victor ameuliza hao Gen Z wako wapi na wanataka nini? Watu wanataka nini?
Okay, just to proceed with what I was saying, we need to set precedents for the kind of politics that we want in this country. The kind of political foundation that we found. Of course, we want to change something. It's a revolution. It's a process that is going to take time. This is our generational mission that we are trying to discover, leave alone trying to live it. We're actually in a process of self-discovery. You will find that Pidgin is here. He's a party leader. He has a political organization. But when you go to the grassroots and you're trying to practicate your ideas, trying to sell your candidate or trying to sell your manifesto or trying to sell your vision to the people, already there are barriers that have been set out. Look at, for instance, Kasipul. Kasipul, there are two candidates who are more popular. We have Boyd Were from the ODM party. I think it's because of the influence of the ODM party in the region. Then we have Aroko. Aroko is an independent candidate, but is posing a serious threat to the ODM candidate. Reason being, Aroko is financially okay. You know, he's able to afford those rallies and everything. There are other candidates which are not even mentioned in the race in the first place. But there could be Gen Zs like us who are trying to bring change within that place. So, in my opinion, this is what I'd say. When you introduce a new idea is going to take time before people can, first of all, listen to it, digest it, and eventually follow into it. The challenge that we are facing in this country is purely economic. These people realize and they know where the weakness is. And that's why when you go to these by-elections, there's a lot of resources. There's a lot of money being dished out to the voters to lure them, to help them, this political class achieve their goal. So what I was trying to say before we went for the break is that we as young people, we know what we want. Pidgin, today, if I ask you what you want, you know what you want, right? But how do we achieve what we want? we are going through a very hard economic time, especially right now. The other day I was with a friend who was telling me that he has secured a job at the UAE. So this tells you that people are willing to get the economic freedom that they're looking for, but how do they get it? So in our involvement in the political space as young people, or rather the Gen Z funded themselves. Actually, when they were going to the streets, no politicians were involved. It was purely organic. I remember people were paying their own transport money to go to town. I myself was in that bus, and people were willing to pay the cost to go to town so that they can take part in the revolution. Where we failed, especially as the leadership, the government countered the revolution. And we remember what happened. There were abductions, people disappeared. It was all over the news. So the challenge came in that those who were trying to lead the revolution, they were targets by the oppressor. And it came out that most of them, they pulled back. Look at the Moraras. Morara right now is advertising furnitures on his pages. He's no longer talking about revolution. He's no longer, look at Makaore. He's making love videos online. That is what he's doing. Because they tested the waters. But what they found was that the political heavyweights, the people that control the means of production, the people that have the money power, are actually luring them. They start by luring you to join them. If you refuse, they come to attack you. So I'm not saying that nobody should contest as a young person. You should contest. But at the back of our minds, we need to understand that we have a very heavy task ahead. Now, as I conclude, I see you have something you want to respond to. All I want to tell you is this. My approach, or the approach that I deem effective to this kind of trying to lure the young people to come up, especially the younger generation. First of all, there has to be a series of engagements. It's not easy, it's a struggle. There has to be a series of engagements. There has to be sessions where we have to go and call these young people. Then ask them, what exactly do you want? And I remember you're doing such a thing, and I appreciate that. We need to have the people's assemblies. Let people come up and give their own ideas so that we can create a nation that is in the image and likeness of this younger generation. We should not inherit a nation that was created by people who are no longer alive today, and the systems are hurting us. It's very difficult for us to fit in.
Thank you. My friend has been very passionate, and I know he's very passionate about this. The reality of the ground is what he's pointing, and that's the reality. So, for us to actually have a successful revolution, we must be conscious of the reality on the ground. But once we have assessed the reality on the ground, we must come up with tactics to defeat that. Nothing is impossible. And he has said it very well. We might not have billions to campaign, but we have millions of us who can produce billions for campaign. That must be very clear. We have you think this country are around 30 million, let me say. We have 30 million of us who can produce billions that even the president cannot have for our campaign. Which means we must recognize that the ground is going to be very tough if we go alone. Because those who are competing against have already muscled whatever we call. And therefore, our unity in terms of us working together is very crucial if we have to succeed and survive. If we go alone, we are going to either be sponsored by them, be their puppets, or anything else. And we will succeed, but still will serve the master. And therefore, the young people must be conscious that it is a high time. It's 1 year since 2024. June thing. It's 1 year. We must have an advanced strategy to start focusing on how are you going to take power 2027. Strategies of how are you going to face the financial issues, how are you going to face the ideology issues, how are you going to face the security issues. If we don't start talking about that now and start still thinking of when is the next protest, I'm telling you, 2027 might find us in protest and not organized. So the challenges are there, but our unity is the only strength we have. We must dare to face them, no matter what it costs. We must dare. We face the bullets. We cannot be afraid to face human beings who are going for the same position. But we must have tactics that make it that we don't only face them, but we succeed. because the most important thing to us is to succeed. So if we can succeed and take over this system and this power, we can turn it around to what we want. It can work for us. But if you say that you want to be rich in this system, we either go to Dubai and be slaves there in Dubai so that we come back being rich. And the moment we'll come back, we'll say, oh, tuko na pesa. So we must ensure that when we are at our weakest point, when we are suffering and feeling the pain, is the time we must organize, unite, and ensure that we can defeat them. We can, I believe.
Actually, just to add on it, I believe we can, and it's very possible. However, we need to focus on the quality of the voter. The quality of the voter will determine the quality of leadership that we shall get. Thank you.
Well, let's just finish up with the issue of politics. Although everything I see, it's just rotating just around politics, but it's okay. So let's cross over to Tanzania. This week, the president of Tanzania, the current president of Tanzania, who was elected by 97 point something percent of the voters, that is according to their IEBC. Yes, what she said about the protest that happened.
Jambo lile lilipotokea, vijana waliingizwa barabarani kudai haki. Tunataka kujua haki gani ambao vijana hawa wameikosa, na kwa umoja wao waliingia barabarani kuidai haki hiyo. Purpose ya wale vijana kuingia ni haki gani, ili tuweze kuifanyia kazi na wapate haki yao. Lakini jengine, tunapofanya hii kazi, hebu tuende tukaangalie matamshi ya vyama vya upinzani. Wale waliokuwa wakisema lazima kiwake, hapakaliki, lazima aondoke, lazima kiwe hiki, uchaguzi hautafanyika. Kitu gani hasa kilichowaletea kufanya vile? Lakini katika kufanya hivyo, tuangalie uhusiano wa hicho chama na tume yetu ya uchaguzi. Uhusiano wao ulikuwaje katika kipindi hicho mpaka ikawapelekea waseme maneno yale. Lakini jingine, tuangalie role bali ya vyama vya siasa vilivyoingia kwenye huo mgogoro, NGO zetu za ndani na za nje. Tunaambiwa kwamba vijana wale walioingia kudai haki walilipwa fedha kwanza ndio wakaingia barabarani, na wengi wao waliingia barabarani kuendana na hizo fedha walizopewa. Je, fedha zilitoka wapi? Kwa hiyo haya tukaangalie NGO za ndani na nje wamechangia nini kwenye mambo haya. Lakini niseme, hata kama kulikuwa na changamoto baina ya tume na vyama vya siasa, msajili na vyama vya siasa, serikali na vyama vya siasa, je, hakukuwa na njia nyingine nzuri zaidi? Njia ilikuwa ni ile moja peke yake ya kuingia, kuchoma nchi, kuchafua nchi, kusababisha vifo kwa wananchi. Hakukuwa na njia nyingine ya kurekebisha hizo kasoro. Hebu twendeni tukaangalie pia.
Aya, twendeni tukaangalie. Anauliza kama hakukuwa na another way of doing this, and well, I think I can answer, maybe as just a layman, just a normal Kenyan, not a journalist, that most of the time when people are really pushing and whatever they are fighting for, the government is giving a deaf ear on whatever they are really pushing for. Most of the time we have seen people go to the streets. Because I feel like our governments, hizi governments zetu, especially East Africa, tumeona hata huku nje pia tumeona, when people go to the streets, sometimes serikali inawasikiza. So hiyo tu nampatia tu kama just by the way. But now, coming now to the main issue is that right now she's talked over is it a committee or is it yes, that is going to itaenda kuchunguza how this really happened. And what is also coming out is the fact of this protest being financed, and especially by the NGOs. That is what she's alluding to, that protests that we saw in Tanzania, they were financed and especially by the NGOs, because she said that wachunguzwe sana the NGOs waonekane their role in this protest that we saw. Well, again, it is quite unfortunate that our neighboring country also had to lose so many of its citizens to the streets just because of the issue of what they feel like serikali imekuwa ijawasikiza. And you have heard them saying that if the political parties had an issue with their IEBC, they needed to have sat down and sorted it. But all over, everybody has seen what was happening in Tanzania, and especially with the opposition leaders being behind bars up to that time when elections zinafanyika. Of course, it is something that you cannot ignore. Even her, as she is giving out her speech, I think she also needs to just to reflect kidogo tu, ajirudishe nyuma, afikirie like what was happening before up to mpaka pale imefikia. Again, this week also there is a documentary that came out from that international TV station that of what really transpired. We remember that during that election, internet ilikatwa, ilizimwa. Let me say ilizimwa, sio kukatwa, ilizimwa. So it was not that able, I mean, we were not so much able to follow the proceedings, what was happening. And actually, I remember we were getting some journalists from across Tanzania trying to give us, but ilikuwa ni wakae mpaka baadaye ndata kutumia maybe a recording of what is really happening. Unapata. So there was a problem. So without internet, actually, because internet is the one that is really connecting every other person, and it is that which has made it easier for us to be able to know what is happening in our neighbors, what is even happening in your own country. Wakati kulikuwa kukuwa na internet, there is a lot that we never used to know about. Actually, kulikuwa na mambo mengi sana tulikuwa tujui, but right now, because there is the advancement of technology, kuna vitu you can't avoid. And so the problem is when they switched off the internet, they forgot that people have phones, people will record, and in the restoration of internet, people will share. I think that is something that people forgot. People will share whatever they recorded. So I think a collection of that is what led to what we have seen so far, and it's quite unfortunate. According to that documentary, the Tanzania lost a lot of people, according to that documentary, which is of course a collection of different from witnesses, different witnesses. So tuko hapo saizi. So amesema tume itaenda kuchunguza what is happening. So I just want to hear your opinions around what Samia has just done this week.
Listening to Samia, sometimes you get to understand why women take money from men in some soft way. Can you compare that speech with what Ruto said after June 24?
You can't.
It's, in fact, her mistake is too gross. Killed many people. Of course, we were also killed in numbers. But look at how she's making it soft in her speech. As if she's an innocent person who didn't even know what's going on. And she's bringing that softness into it, which I think has some effect also on how you respond to it. Because she's been too soft. It's like a holy sinner. She's too holy to the sin on how she speaks.
Yes.
So it first of all creates some perceptions to you. So you start moving to her side. You start empathizing to her. You start creating something of maybe understanding why she did it. Because she's too soft. Listen to Ruto speaking. Those who ask, gee, what, terrorists, gee, what? Two different intonations, and it's very important. But let's
well, regardless of how soft you are or how tough you are, I think the ultimate issue here, the ultimate goal is human rights.
That's what I want to go to.
Yes.
So she's trying to make it soft. She's trying to make it as if it is an easy thing and a soft thing, when in reality it's the gross misconduct and actually violation of human rights. Now when she's trying to say, let's listen to what was the relationship between what and what, as an active president of the country, she was quite aware with all information and intelligence available on the ground of the potential thing that was to happen. She's She should not say that she's surprised. She had all intelligence information that if you don't do this, this was to happen. Now, when you want to blame people who went to the street for your inactiveness as a leader to take responsibility, because when you tell me that this is the problem in the society, then I fail to take responsibility. Then start saying people are paid. Now, if people were paid, did she learn that people were paid after the protest, or she knew people were paid before the protest? And if she knew people were paid, why did she stop that payment? And does it mean that Tanzanians are too poor to go in the street, so they don't have even fare ya kufika kwa tao, ndisemekana kwa wao kufika kwa tao ni walilipwa? I think that. That's the same thing they created here in Kenya. Remember, they called so many foundations that paid us. He's saying, and I've also gone to the street with my own fare. So, Uyo Foundation alikuwa wapi? But beyond even who funds, and remember what Wanjigi one day said, that I'm not ashamed of funding Gen Z thing. So, beyond even who funded, was it funded for the right cause? Do you want to say that Tanzanians never had a valid reason to go in the protest? They had a reason. And if someone even made it possible for them to speak out, you should appreciate that person. Because you cannot oppress people, and because you know they are poor, they will not speak. That's very wrong, you see. So that one we can also not forget. Whether she want to blame it, because now what she's talking is purely blame games. You want to put blames on opposition, on the party election, what? We don't care any of her blame game. The only person responsible is not person who went to the street. The person who took the action to end the life of that person in the street. When she's asking that, was there no alternative way to do this? Did she not also have an alternative way to counter them? Was her only alternative to kill them? So she must also ask herself those questions. The fact that nimekuja kwako na bunduki, does it mean that me pia nitoke na bunduki nikuwe? Did you not have also a choice to make on how you counter me? President Samia failed terribly. And now they have even moved it. If you've listened to recent debates, kikundi cha Waislamu wametokea. You've seen that. That is in fact a dangerous direction that I even don't want that conversation to go. Because you've seen how that conversation goes in Sudan, which led to South Sudan and the main Sudan, the issue of religion and coming in. And now I saw that statement of those religious leaders trying to take it to that direction. Hakuna muuaji wetu. Hakuna muuaji wetu. Muuaji ni muuaji, either kwe ni Mkristo, na hakuna dini ambayo ina support uuaji wa mtu yoyote. Na hakuna president anayefaa kusimama pale popote kusema kwamba na justify mbona nilikuua. That should not happen. So therefore me, I still stand with the Tanzanians. And what you are saying is a very big mistake she did. Shut the internet. The first thing now, tell me, when she shut down the internet, what was her intention? That tells you already she was prepared to do something dangerous. So shut down everything so that nobody sees what is going on. And then she forgets, as you're saying, the foolish mistake. She forgets that people have the phone to record it. The wave of the young people and the protest against bad governance and the need for change transcend a country, a tribe, or any fact of it. As long as the African leaders are not ready to provide to this generation what they want, they will go for it, and no matter what it will take.
That's well said, Pigeon. Mine, I'll bring it to a broader conversation about democracy, especially in African countries, especially in developing countries. I think we need to define democracy, and we need to really understand what should transpire, especially when we go for elections and the sitting president is still the one in control, is still the one appointing the election body. Is still the one who is the commander-in-chief and giving orders and everything. We need to differentiate between a candidate, especially when you run for office. I think there should be a mechanism where you are actually out of touch with the real power that you control, especially when you are elected as a leader. Because all these things that happened, what was the genesis of the problems in Tanzania? Tundu Lissu was arrested. He was the opposition leader. The deputy party leader went there to listen to the case. He was also arrested. So you've taken away the competitor. You want to run against yourself. You've succeeded. You've shut down the internet. You've succeeded. A lot of people were murdered, as we saw in the documentary yesterday. And after that, you still want to come and form a commission of inquiry yourself. Okay? You are the one now trying to inquire what the actions the repercussions of your actions. So this tells you that our democratic space is not it's used for political reasons, because Trump said he's going to invade Nigeria. because he thinks that there is there's a religious attack that is going on in Nigeria between Muslims and Christians. But again, Trump has not come to Tanzania, because US is the country that, it's like the watchdog of democracy. They've not come to Tanzania to conclusively address, because this person is in power. He was sworn in, He was sworn in as the president. The only authority that is higher than Suluhu, it could be the US, which can come into the country and try to restore democracy. But you cannot tell us that you are the perpetrator, and at the same time you act as the victim, and at the same time, in fact, what is the role of the Commission of Inquiry? After all the statement that she made, she was already giving conclusions on what that Commission of Inquiry was supposed to go and do. Because you cannot claim there were bribery, people were paid to go to the streets, right? You are claiming that people were behind it, the NGOs and so on and so on. Nobody has been apprehended with the power that she possesses. You want to tell me that it's not possible to apprehend anyone? If she was able to charge the opposition leader with treason, before elections, so she's not able now to, to apprehend the person who paid the protesters. That is crazy. And again, when you look at it, she appointed the daughter into government. She appointed the son-in-law into government. So this tells you that she is afraid of losing this power. But now we should calm down. As a Pan-Africanist, I tend to, sometimes I don't know it's overthinking, but I usually try to think beyond what is seen. The question should be, who was behind Suluhu's presidency? Who really wanted Suluhu to retain that position? And the issues that have been surrounding about, Suluhu took power in 2021 after what happened to Magufuli. And who is this person that wants this softer Suluhu, who is able to give access to the resources of Tanzania, against somebody who was able to defend the resources of Tanzania for the benefit of Tanzanians? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. And perhaps, I'm not saying it's true, that person could be the one trying to create war in Nigeria, and at the same time, they're overlooking what has just happened in Tanzania. Human life must be protected. That is an international law. So any claim about the injustices that have happened to Tanzanians, they should be handled by the authority which is higher than the authority which exists in Tanzania. Because why are they delegating all this to Tanzania? The leader of Tanzania is the one who is the head of everything. She appointed the electoral commissioners. She's the one who is appointing the ministers. She's the one who is appointing the commission of inquiry. She's doing literally everything. Can you investigate yourself after knowing what you've actually done?
We don't have a country in Tanzania. Whatever we are having there is very funny thing now. Because as you're saying, it's very clear that we must trace the origin of Samia Suluhu's to power and how she has been calculatively put in that place up to where she is. And now even appointing the son of Jakaya Kikwete things and the rest of the things. And the whole accusation you are having around Magufuli disappearing or the death of Magufuli and how she was somehow also being labeled in that. And the key thing that the so-called Chama cha Mapinduzi that no longer does any Mapinduzi in that country must ask themselves, are they also going to be irrelevant as ANC of South Africa becoming irrelevant? Because they can start as revolutionary parties, but in a period of the time they become puppet parties. You know what they did by giving the land of Maasai to the Arab Emirates. You remember that case? Wamepeana the land of Maasais. You move Maasais from their original land unapeana to some companies and some families in Arab to take over that, you see? So Samia, when she claims that there's some people sponsoring this, we also know there are some people sponsoring her to be in that position. And the best she can do is to step down, atembe, or the Chama cha Mapinduzi, which I believe have the powers to do this, must correct their names now, or else they are going to be irrelevant party like the ANC of South Africa.
Those are opinions of Kenyans about a neighboring country, Tanzania. Anyway, yeah, I get the passion because, of course, we are all Africans, and having that African blood in us, of course, we must be passionate about the well-being of our neighbors and everyone around us. There's something also that is coming out of this conversation around these leaders, of course, giving their families is rewarding their family members to keep them also in power. And I saw some joke that was doing rounds on social media about wasema kwamba it is now we started with Uganda, the president, the son. And then now we are talking of Tanzania, Suluhu also having appointed her daughter to be assistant minister in education. So now people are asking about what happens to Kenya. I don't want you to answer me. It's just it was just a meme that was doing rounds across on social media. So it is also something quite worth noting in this leadership. So will we continue with ukishaingia kwa kiti, you also put your son or your daughter or your whatever in-law into power? One thing that came out, we have seen, we saw the president, the former president, the late Magufuli from Tanzania, is one person we did see him bringing in somebody, in his family. And actually, I usually add people talking about, they saying that that president, hata wakati wake wakuja kwenda hakukuwa na ile ya kwamba ati kuna watu wamewaweka. Actually, people were sympathizing with the family, saying that now basi watafute hata one of the kids wamuingize katika, one of the children wamuingize katika uongozi, at least for the sake of the family. So I don't know.
No, it reminded me of Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah even refused to be given a house. The presidential palace Kwame Nkrumah refused to take. Just imagine. And when he died, I'm told even the daughters didn't know where to go home. He didn't have any home. Acha ni wetu mwenye akona ingine siji Narok, siji ingine akona house siji wapi. He never had any place. When Sankara got to power, I remember what he did. Aliuza paka gari ya president. Akaamua kutembea na vitu zake huko chini. But there's a danger when you elect or appoint the family members close to power. And that is the danger we are getting from Uganda. The old man from Uganda who decided to say our men were in fridge for some few days and he called it fridge as if walikuwa samaki kuweko kwa fridge is a very dangerous precedence where the son takes the command from the father and the son is the commander-in-chief. Now tell me, where do you get a country in that space? Sahi hata Museveni akitaka kutoka nisemekane huyo Bobi Wine ameshinda na kijana ndio mkubwa wa majeshi, itakuwa aje? So we are treading in a very wrong direction. And I want to give credit to Kenya on this. Kenyans have tried, but that trend is coming. Remember even Kawira Mwangaza registering her party na bwana alikuwa sijini sekjen, mtoto sijini kwa ndio treasurer, Kawira ndio party leader, and enda kwa makaunti leo uone vitu ziko huko. Watu wamepanga paka magirlfriends sijini nani, mandugu yake sijini ndio nani, imepangwa kila mahali.
You put trend people in strategic places.
And some people defend by saying, when you get political positions, you put people you can trust, people can work on your vision, people you can betray you cannot betray you. Were you voted by your family members? Is it a family position or is a country position? And it's very clear from what you're seeing. Started with Tanzania. Now Tanzania is getting in. Uganda has perfected on this. Utapata siji familia imepangwa kila mahali. And that is the danger we are facing with Uganda. And I like what even Museveni is now saying, that tunataka East Africa. As a Pan-African who propagate unification of Africa, the Confederation of East Africa is being pushed by Museveni, at least is a good direction. Even though I don't accept that confederation in the neo-colonial or the colonial territories, I only propose and support unification of Africa in terms of tribes. The tribes of Africa existed before white man came in. There was a Luo, there was a Kikuyu, and there was what? But Kenya existed with the white man. So uniting Kenya with Uganda and the rest is just uniting the neo-colonial territories, putting them again together. And Kenya will always take command from Britain, the same way they've been doing up to date, you see? So the key issue is that even if you go to Rwanda, the son of the president of Rwanda is also very close to the powerful President Kagame. Actually, he's always there, if you check it. He's always there. The key issue is, what value to the service of the people of the country has those family members made to the country? If your daughter is a perfect leader, because one thing we can also not stop is that because you are a president, it doesn't mean you cannot have a daughter or a son who can be a perfect leader or a genuine something. We cannot stop you by that, you see. The fact that your father is a minister of education does not stop you as a son to pursue your vision. You see, but we have realized that over a period of time, even those sons and daughters who have been appointed, they have never been very qualified or very perfect in terms of their duty dispenses. In fact, they have been so corrupt. Look at Mobutu Sese Seko and what happened in that same country. Look at this president who was elected in West Africa. In fact, the daughter came out and told the citizens, Musichagwe baba yangu. I really liked that. She said, Musichagwe baba yangu, because the father is now 92 years old, the oldest president in Africa. And they still want to be in power until the young daughter is saying, no, don't elect my father anymore. So I think that generation, which is our generation, must start refusing this. And I will tell that daughter of Suluhu, please reject that appointment.
Hata kama ni wewe utakata. Well, I was just confirming about Paul Kagame's, I mean the Rwanda's president's son, who is closer to him. This is what they are saying, that his name is Lieutenant Ian Kagame, who joined the presidential guard.
All I can say
closer
is that,
to the president.
All I can say is that even in Kenya, there was sometimes back there were rumors that there is office of the daughter of the first daughter. There were rumors, but all I can say is about the constitution of the country. In Uganda and Tanzania, they still have a lot of reforms to do to their constitution. If you look at our Kenyan constitution, it's deemed as one of the best constitutions. Especially in East Africa, our constitution is the best. It guarantees democracy and how to defend that democracy. Nepotism, corruption, favoritism, there are people, actually, today there was a conversation on X about, they've sexualized the political space in Kenya. Most of these female leaders, they'll tell you, if you have a private conversation with them, how they got those positions, especially nominations. So all this kind of unfair means of undermining meritocracy is what is leading to what we are seeing today. Suluhu is not even afraid. She's not even ashamed of what she did. She goes ahead and appoints, the question now comes in. As much as they're saying that you work with the people that you trust, what if now there is a breakup between the daughter of Suluhu and the son-in-law? Will you demote him, and fire him from that position? So any kind of appointments that are related to relationships and feelings and emotions are attached to it, expect nothing to do with delivery, service delivery. And again, Suluhu needs to understand that all this power that is welded, all this power that these people are enjoying, they're just donated by the people. Because the resources that Suluhu is managing, who do they belong to? They belong to the people. Who are the taxpayers? The people have the sovereign power. And that's why our constitution starts with Article 1 saying the sovereignty of the people. We the people. So the fact that these presidents are trying to guard their leadership by putting family close, one thing I'll let them know, such kind of selfish leadership, they can refer to what happened to Mugabe. Once you go, especially in Uganda, you will go, and the war will not come from outside. The war will come from inside the circle. The people are going to topple the leadership, for instance, of Uganda if they have to, if it happens hypothetically. If it happens that they've toppled the leadership, it will not come from far. It will come from those people that you've appointed and elevated to those positions. We've had the case of Congo. The son, he was accused of doing what to the father. So even those people that you put so close to yourself, if they are greedy the same way you are greedy, they will take you down. Look at the Angola, the Queen of Angola. What is the name of this famous queen? Queen Nzinga. When you look at the story and follow in how she became the queen, at first, the first war is fought within the family. There are no rivalries that are worse than the rivalries you meet in the families. Right now, the Odingas are playing it out openly. Sometimes you think you can trust these people, but they end up being the people that can be the cause of your downfall. Let people be appointed according to meritocracy, not relationships, not favoritism, not anything to do with aspects which are outside the constitution.
I think that is fair enough. That's fair enough. Let's look at what we come back to Kenya, look at education and hear what the cabinet secretary said.
Files today as we speak, we should be able to release it next week. Once we have these numbers, we then position for capitation early based on the numbers that we have, because the policy is clear. If you have students in high school, the amount should be 22,240. In the junior school is 15,000 and primary is 1,540. So once we submit this early, then we will be able to receive the capitation early so that the students, once the schools open, the capitation will already be in place. We had a challenge before because the numbers were not clear. But now we have cleaned our data and we have the correct numbers of the students in primary, junior and senior school, which we are going to use to rely on to make the requisition for the capitation. And that is going to be done as early as next week, so that by the time schools open, the capitation will be in schools. Those are some of the things we are working very closely with National Treasury to ensure that we avoid those delays where capitation comes late in schools.
Well, on education, let me just sum up the several issues that I want us to look at. This week, of course, the KCSE examination ended. Yeah, walimaliza mtihani, and the CS came out and said that this year we've witnessed there's a reduction in the number of exam cheating that was witnessed in this year. There is a drop from what we witnessed last year, around 6 something, and this year talking of about 400 and something. That's what he said. So it's a good thing, according to us, if the reports are something to go by. Also, he's talked about the capitation of the student, that allocation, that capitation that is usually given to students of course the primary and also the secondary schools. And what is coming out is this issue ama aspect of why kulikuwa na ile kwamba kulikuwa na miscalculation of the amount that was going to the students. Amesema kwamba saizi now the exercise of that tallying of how many students we have, the exercise is complete. Now they have the correct data. I remember him also last week, but one coming out and defending also the issue of the ghost schools and whatever, saying that it is because these schools had not presented the reports that were supposed to be presented to him, so that now they can talk of now the allocations they've been getting. So akatetea akasema kwamba ni vile hawakuwa wameleta zile ripoti ambazo zilikuwa zinahitajika, diposa sasa tuliona kwamba kulikuwa na ghost school. So he denied that kuna any ghost schools in our country. It's only that they had not presented those reports to him. I just want to hear your opinion, Victor.
First of all, during the address of the president, I think he mentioned something on education. He said that he has increased the allocation to schools. It's currently at 700 billion from 400 in 2021 when he took office. But we are still surprised by such figures, because when you look at the capitation, it has been reduced. Actually, the other time the day scholars, it was reduced from about 12,000 to around 9,000 shillings. For boarders, it was reduced, I think, from 25,000 to about, is it 22? For junior secondary, it's actually junior secondary, it's 15,000 as he has stated, and for senior secondary, it's is it 22,000 as he has stated. How comes that the capitation in schools is reducing from the previous figures to what we have right now, and yet there is an increment in allocation from the national government? And again, this brings in the question about why do we have so many structures about that are all aimed at doing what? At funding education. If you go to the office of the governor, there is a scholarship and there is a bursary. If you go to the MCA's offices, there is a bursary. If you go to the women representatives office, there is a bursary. If you go to the member of parliament, there is CDF that is supposed to fund education. And again, now there is the capitation which comes from the national government. I think, in my opinion, that we should have one. William Ruto is talking about consolidating state corporations and state farms so that we can have one single one to run the activities at once. And I'd say this, in the education sector, let us consolidate all these funds so that we can have them channeled direct to schools. Because there is no need of giving a member of parliament around 120 million to 180 million each and every financial year so that he can go to issue bursaries to the needy students. In fact, in Kenya, everyone is needy. So they just need to send all that money to the schools so that there can be free education. How do we achieve free education? This is one of the mechanisms that we can put in place to ensure that we give free and fair education to what? And quality education to our students. So talking about ghost schools, the government gives allocations and that money goes to accounts. You can't tell me that accounts exist and the schools do not exist. Actually, the issue of ghost schools came up during the last petition for the presidential elections, when votes were, they were announced from non-existent schools. So telling us that what is the relationship between classrooms and what? And schools. Classrooms and elections. Elections are held in classrooms, in learning institutions. The results then they come direct from the schools. I don't know whether you're getting that sense. The results are streamed in and they're labeled that they come from school X. And the allocation also goes to school X, right? Those are two different things, but they're serving the same institution. Then later on, we are told this institution did not exist. And then we are told now the report had not reached my office. Now the report has reached my office. There's nothing going to happen called, ghost schools. I think we need to be serious as a country and we need to do serious auditing, especially of the government institutions. If we strengthen the government institutions, we shall reduce over-reliance on leadership. That's why the problem we are facing, I believe, is that we believe ukikuwa mbunge in this country, you've run away from poverty. Salasia will tell you how he was a hustler and right now he has built houses for all his brothers, right? It's because we are connecting resources with power. If we can connect resources with institutions and the institutions can be held reliable, for the utilization of these resources, you will find that the head of that institution will be able to account for it. He does not have bodyguards who are police officers protecting him. He will be liable for persecution if at all he has violated the law. So what I can say is that the ministry needs to be serious and they need to work towards the journey of providing free education. Why should you charge education? I was arguing with a friend of mine and I was asking him, why do you pay for education? Because just think about it loudly. You've gone to school, you've gained skills, right? After that, you expect to be employed. Once you are employed, you come, automatically you become, a candidate of the state in terms of tax and revenue, wherever payment. After that, the government starts, benefiting from your education directly from the taxes. If you proceed all the way up, you find that out of 100% of the benefits which come from education, about 60% the government benefits from them. Why can't the same government invest in this education, invest in you, so that wherever you come up to the tax bracket, they are able to recover whatever they invested in you? That is what I was arguing with a friend of mine.
Okay, in 2 minutes actually, because we are heading to the top of the hour, maybe you can give your submission around education.
No, it's just to support him. Education should be free. Because who told you to go to school? If you fail to go to school today, who will arrest you? The government.
The government will.
And they want you to pay to go to that same school. So they'll arrest you because you don't have money to pay for education. Now when you graduate and start working, who benefits from your money apart from your mother? The government benefits from your money. Now you are a journalist here. Are you broadcasting for your family or for the citizens of this country? Who need a journalist? Who need a doctor? Who need a teacher? Is it the government or your mother or your father? It's the government. So the government must take full responsibility of education. They should educate you. Mimi at least hapa tunaambiwa ati uko na help. So government learn me education, and the constitution says education is a basic need, not a privilege. So those are a few things we need to set clear. And as I've said, education is the equalizer of a society.
I think that's fair enough. You have something to add? 1 minute, please.
Yes. What I can add is that education should actually be free. Reason being, the government has a responsibility to do what? To give education. If you look at our parents, the biggest investment of a Kenyan parent, it's education. They sell everything to make sure that you are educated. They only get frustrated when that education does not pay off. And that's why you find that a parent is depressed, mtoto wake amegraduate, and they have to go back home. You start feeding them again. You start finding a motorbike for them. Actually, a motorbike is the most common thing now parents are looking for to give their kids. So the government, after educating you, the next responsibility is to ensure that our parents get value for their money and for the investment, and is to give you a job. And that's why we come into the issue of job creation and the level of unemployment in the country.
Actually, I was surprised sometimes back. Somebody came out and said that our parents were able to feed us. Like, we're going to put a family of 10 people. They were taken to school. They were able to be fed. But currently, as we are right now, you realize that we cannot even feed 2 kids, 2 children. It is hard currently. So it's quite funny. So things are really changing. So to the listeners, this is Radio Generation, the home of hard truths and bold insights. The show that you're tuned in is The Generation Report, and this comes from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Hapa tunazungumza, yes, conversations that matter, that shape opinions in the country. So as we head to the top of the hour, don't go too far. We will be right back.
It's 9 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul.
The Honorable Speakers of the National Assembly and Senate, the Honorable Members of the National Assembly and Senate, the Chief Justice and the leadership of the Judiciary, Cabinet Secretaries, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow citizens, ladies and gentlemen. 2 years ago, when I delivered my first State of the Nation address, I had a vision to sell. Today, I have a story to tell. A story written not in the quiet offices or the comfort of boardrooms, but out in the blazing sun of our farms, in the dust of construction sites where our affordable homes now rise, and in the grit of our community health workers, doctors, medical professionals who refuse to surrender in the quest for universal health coverage. It is written in the steady hum of our factories, in the determination of millions daring to dream and finance their vision through the Hustler Fund, in the courage of our young people working on housing sites, in the Climate Works program, in the digital ecosystem, and in the bravery of those who, looking beyond our borders, have sought livelihoods abroad to sustain families back home. A story of sacrifice, a story of sweat, a story of progress that has not come easy. It is a story you can see in the numbers, feel in the homes, and trace in the lives transformed across our republic. A story whose facts are available for all to examine, except perhaps for the cynical who have no facts. Today, the evidence is clear, evidence of promises made and promises kept. In just 3 years, we have built not monuments of words, but foundations of progress. And yet, even with these achievements, I am convinced that this is only but the beginning. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as I prepared this address, I reflected deeply on the long road we have traveled as a nation. 62 years shaped by struggle, sacrifice, hardship, triumph, and milestones that have affirmed our spirit. From that reflection came one undeniable truth. We have made commendable progress, but Kenya still punches way below its true weight. Honorable members, the last 3 years have not been easy. We have agreed, sometimes disagreed, and at times those disagreements have carried great cost. We have compromised, we have confronted hard truths, and we have endured storms none of us invited. But we all take comfort that it has not been for nothing, for this is how far we have come. At a time like this in 2022, Kenya was in distress. Inflation had soared almost to double digits. A fuel shortage threatened to paralyze our economy as oil marketers struggled to access dollars. The shilling was in free fall. Foreign reserves had hit historic lows. Debt service consumed more than half of our revenues. Confidence, both local and foreign, had waned. International analysts warned that it was no longer a question of if, but when Kenya would default. Within that context, we acted. We restored fiscal discipline. We eliminated wasteful subsidies. We rationalized public expenditure. We strengthened revenue collection and placed our economy on a path of recovery and sustainability. Inflation, which stood at 9.6% in 2002, in 2022, has steadily declined to 4.6% as of last month, bringing much needed relief to households. The shilling, once in perilous downward spiral, has stabilized at 129 to the dollar for nearly 2 years, a direct consequence of prudent monetary policy.
Juzi wakati nilitoa taarifa yangu ya State of the Nation address, vyombo vya habari walikuwa wanahangaika. Wengine wanasema sijui Ruto amesema, sijui wale watu wanafanya kazi affordable housing, sijui ni 450, sijui ni 600,000, sijui ni ngapi, ati numbers are conflicting. Hiyo ni sawa. At least we agree on one thing. Hamukuamini ya kwamba inawezekana. We are now arguing about numbers. Kama ni 400,000 ama ni 600. Hiyo ni sawa. Tuendelee kuongea tu hapo. Lakini kazi inafanya nini? Kazi inaendelea. Na vijana wako wapi? Wako kazini. So arguing about which number is right, statistics, hiyo ni sawa. At least we have settled one thing, that something is happening in our country. Transformation is happening in our country. We can argue on the numbers, we can argue on the statistics, we can argue on this or the other, but we all agree that we are moving forward as a country.
Yes, that is the President of the Republic of Kenya. That is President William Ruto. And I'm just laughing because my guests here, they are really they are making me laugh about how they are describing it. Like people are wondering, like, how is the president able to have all these things in mind, and how is he able to be that perfect? But anyway, ni sawa. Karibu tena. This is the Generation Report on Radio Generation, the home of hard truths and bold insights. 88.8 concerns you in Nairobi, that is FM. You're able to tune in on 88.8. Mombasa, it is 90.7. You're able to tune in and follow the conversation here. If you also want to follow us on our social media platforms, please do so. Radio Gen KE, that is on our X platform, and also on YouTube, and also on our Facebook. We are live. Kitaka kuona ni kina nani wako studio. Those people who are speaking passionately. Ni sisi tuko hapa. You are able to watch this live and direct. And I have a friend of mine who's tuning in all the way from Alaska in the US. Anasema show iko safi kabisa. Yes, anapenda the conversation that is happening here. There are also someone tuning in Kisii telling me conversation iko sawa. Thank you so much for tuning in. Others all the way from Mombasa, my people. Yeah, watu wanategea kule sana. Thank you so much for tuning in. So the conversation continues, and we've said we spared this 1 hour to just converse around the state of the nation, the things that were discussed there, and even the things that followed after that, because I tend to believe that there were some bills that were signed just a day after the state of the nation address. So we are here to look at them into details, because I know Kenyans really want to understand this better, and therefore we are here for you, Radio Generation. By the way, my name is Triciah. Wayua. If you like Triciah, Wayua. I think everybody here introduced themselves and I didn't. I'm so sorry. My name is Triciah Wayua, or if you like, you can call me Triciah. During the weekdays, tuko kwenye newsroom, tunahakikisha kwamba unapata hizi habari kwa njia ambayo inafaa. So we are here, and of course we have other programs here at Radio Generation, starting from the People's Breakfast, that is every other day of the week from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. utakuwa unatupata shwari kabisa. If you want a continuation of these kind of conversations, please do so for the People's Breakfast in the morning. Kutoka hapo tunakuwa na retro box for those people who want to be entertained during the mid morning. Please, you can always tune in. For those of you who also want to be driven home, like you want us to accompany you home, please, every other day during the drive show utakuwa unatujoin hapa hivi, and then later in the evening tunakuzindikisha kwenda kulala with good conversations here. Therefore, make this your home. Radio Generation, make it your home, because everything that you need is right here at Radio Generation. Back to the conversation. Yes, you've heard what the president said. Tumetoka mbali sana, and it is true. As a country, tumetoka mbali sana. Tumetoka mbali sana. So he has said so many things, and of course with a lot of promises. And I saw people coming out and saying that the president should not have come there with promises. He should come and give people where we are at that specific time. And I guess a majority of the things that he's talking about are projects that he has started, not unless you guys are going to convince me otherwise. And of course we are here to converse and give different opinions. So I just welcome you guys. Let's converse around this. Tuangalie state of the economy of the country. Mumesikia rais amesema kwamba tunaendelea vizuri sana. Kutoka pali ambapo alishika uongozi wa nchi, ni kwamba kufikia sasa tunaendelea vizuri sana. So I just, because nawaona venye mkoiga, I just want to start with you, Victor. Okay. Tusikie unasema una yepi ya kusema kuhusiana na hii hotuba ama address ya rais about the state of the nation kwa wakati alikuwa na that joint sitting with the Senate and the MPs.
I think Kenyans are the ones to share the real state of the nation. I listened to the president keenly. He is gifted. That guy is an orator. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he knows how to use all the intonations, the rhymings and everything. And Uhuru once said that mdomo tamu. But in the end, when you look at the results, you can't find them. Why do I say this? I'm not trying to demystify everything. I'm not a pessimist. All I'm trying to say is that, of course, as a country, we are in progress as we talk right now. He talked about the levels of inflation. They are now at 4.6%. Yes. We're also talking about a stable shilling. However, the World Bank gave a warning, I think it was last week, and saying that the stability of the Kenyan shilling is to be studied, because there is no way a currency can be constant at one particular point for a very long time like that. So it could not be a natural, it's not a natural occurrence. So they were trying to warn that in future there could be a problem with our currency. That is something which was said. But however, Kenyans expected William Ruto to point at one of the biggest promises that he made when he was getting to office, the promise of saying that nikiweka Biblia chini he was going to create 1 million jobs annually. So he never said the level of, he never addressed the issue of the level of unemployment in the country and how many jobs he has actually created over the period, because now we are talking about 22 months to elections right now. So another issue, the president never really talked about the cost of living. Because when you come out to speak about the State of the Nation address, we need to understand what is the cost of living as we are standing right now. And Kenyans can feel it in their pockets. Remember, in this regime, there were new taxes which were introduced, and more are still being introduced. So these taxes are all preying at the what? At the revenue of the Kenyans. And when we look at the issue of agriculture, I think the president talked about infrastructure. He talked about paved roads. He talked about dams. He talked about electricity. He talked about agriculture. He talked about education. Those are some of the key things that he talked about. Now let us listen to what he talked about in the agricultural sector. According to statistics, in Kenya we consume about 1 million metric tons of rice annually. And if you look at it, locally we produce about 250, between 200 and 230 to 250 metric tons. So 700 is imported from outside. And we are talking about dams and irrigation. The president talked about, constructing more dams and to do what? And to irrigate. Are we irrigating yet? Rice is the second staple food of the country, and we are importing more than 3/4 of it into the country. The president talked about issues to do with milk. I don't know, now we are producing about 5.7 million liters. But in actual sense, there is a local media station which did some analysis that were trying to give different figures. It's actually at 3-point-something million, So this exaggeration in prices, they are there to make things look very good. But in actual sense, there is a very huge difference. The president talked about admitting more than 700,000 students to the TVETs. But in real sense, 718,000. And it's according to the fact checks, it's about 700 actually. So this tells you there was a difference of 18,000. So this tells you that if we have a president who cannot speak facts, numbers never lie.
Sure.
Numbers speak the truth. So when you want to give the true state of the nation, not a rough estimate of the state of the nation, what the president was trying to do, he was trying to give an average. He was trying to give a figure just to make us feel good. Let us get the true fact. Let us get the true state of the nation address so that we can understand why is it that we are getting more revenue from exporting labor than we are getting from exporting farm produce to other countries. Why are we exporting when you export labor, you're exporting the brains. That's brain drain. When you're exporting labor, you're exporting the labor force that we need in building our country. Kenya is a young country. The president gave a promise of trying to make Kenya look like Singapore. I don't know this time round which country used. Is it Malaysia or Singapore?
Yeah, Malaysia.
Right?
Yes.
How do we achieve the Malaysia target? When you look in our country, the president is not talking about fighting corruption. The president is not talking about the stalled projects that have stalled. And these projects are supposed to give a significant input into the economy. The president is not addressing the real issues. He's trying to formalize the informal sector. But he's not asking himself, why are Kenyans running to the informal sector and they're leaving the formal sector? Because the formal sector is overexploited in this country. The president is not talking about the true picture of education in this country. I'm telling you, so many students are dropping out right now as we are talking. They cannot, when the cost of keeping you in school, sometimes it's even higher than the cost you are paying so that you can be allowed to be in class. The cost of living is rising, right? The president talked about we produce 67 million, tons of maize, right? But the fact is we are at 44 million, right? So this kind of differences of 30 plus, let the president be factual. And the president needs to get reliable information, not AI generated reports that make us, it sounds like music to the ears. But when you come back to reality qua ground, things are so difficult. The cost of starting up a business and running it in this country, the factors of production, You know, they are really high. We are talking about MPs proposing so that we can do what? We can increase the cost of electricity. The other time I was giving you an example of a token of 50 shillings.
Yes.
You buy token worth 50 shillings, you are given 29.5 shillings worth of electricity, but 20.5% of that money, you are not told where it's going to. It's for other uses. And again, the parliament that we have right now, which was clapping and foot thumping and doing everything, it's now proposing that we should increase the cost of electricity. They don't know that the cost of electricity will increase. The level of unemployment is going down. So the true picture of this country can only be painted by that Kenyan who is really laboring each and every day to try to wake up early in the morning, go and sell their labor, come back with peanuts so that they can afford the products and items that they cannot live without. That is the true state of the nation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. I think you've done justice to the president's speech. To me, as I've said, it sounds like a very good romantic love story sent to a woman who is very desperate and generated by AI in a very good intonation, as you've said. A good orator, he can only be a good preacher, not a good president. And I will advise him, actually, ile church alifungua status, he should just be a bishop there so that we can have a new president there. Because president is selling hope. The hope churches have been selling to people. President is selling hope and he demands sadaka for that hope. We pay tax every day and we're still being sold hope every day. I think maybe in his process of either interacting with his close spouse or himself with the church, he's mastered this act. And that's why he sold to us as very good hope. Of a Kenya ya bottom up, ya mama mboga, watu vinyozi. Tumeka kwa vinyozi tunangoja serikali yetu. Hatujaiona. Mama mboga amesahau ati hiyo serikali yake. In fact, mama mboga mwenye alikuwa na duka ya mboga, when Ruto was promising serikali ya mama mboga, leo amefunga mboga yake. Wale watu wasiji pikipiki na watu nini bodaboda au watu bodaboda leo hata kulipa loan imechukuliwa. Amechukua hii pikipiki yake inaitwa siji spiral hii ya stima hii. Sasa yeye ndiye amekuwa tena mtu akutupea loan. Badala yeye mwenyewe afanye maisha mtu wa bodaboda ikuwe sawa, yeye ndiye ameleta loan mlipe yeye mwenyewe pikipiki yake. We have a president that is not taking us to the right direction. And I think it's because he's very good businessman. And that's the biggest problem we have. We have put in a businessman who want to be a leader. Wewe angalia sasa hii amengangana kupanda ni ngano. So the president anataka kutupea ngano. Ameamua kupanda ngano yake ndio supply yeye nchi. Alituambia kwamba chapati hapa italetwa mashini ya chapati hapa ndio alete ngano yake apike nayo chapati hapa na tuuziwe so that he can get tender for his ngano mali yako. This is the same president nasikia kwa kampuni na familia yake ya kutu export ngambo. Anatuambia the trillions that goes to the economy. How about the billions that anachukua kutoka yeye na kampuni yake na hiyo bibi yake na familia yake? Because they were listed in the New York Times kwamba they are part of the shareholders in that. Now how about those billions he's taking? Of course, some people are saying, hiyo story ya kupeleka watu ngambo, those are the companies but then were exploiting people. There were those old stories.
Yes.
So the government has come in to streamline it. Just because the president has the power to go to Dubai and negotiate with the king of Dubai. And in fact, if you analyze that New York Times report, unasikia we are being paid even less, 5% less than any other workers in the global market, Mali Tuko. But because the government negotiated. And why should a president negotiate for an opportunity and then become the supplier? Why should that be? In fact, he's behaving like our former kings and chiefs who sold some of our ancestors in the slave trade period, and they benefited out of that just because of a cup of maybe a wine or something like a bunduki somewhere. This is where we are. But the president must ask himself, if you think the nation is moving in the right direction, why are you exporting people out of that nation? Why are you expecting people to run away from that nation that you think is doing good?
Well, I think as he continues to streamline things, so because as he continues now to industrialize the country,
so mmewekwa kwa jirani tunajenga nyumba mtarudi.
Ngojea kwa jirani you come back.
There's a pattern that we need to note, and it's very important. When the president got to power, I think he consolidated all government entities and put them under his citizen. All the payments and everything, it came to his citizen. He was to sign a bill, I don't know whether he has signed, where he's going to consolidate all government corporations into one management, right? So when you look at the insurance the matatu vehicle insurance companies. Actually, there is one which is called, I think, is it the Jubilee or whatever? I don't know, Amaco or what, is the one that is now monopolizing the market. And now when we talk about exporting of labor, we are again talking about the government coming in to streamline. When we are talking about SHA, right? We are talking about, a different system. The question should be, who are these systems benefiting? And what is the role of the leadership in these systems? If we are trying to get monopoly of all this, is it for better service delivery? Or is it for someone else, somewhere to benefit from it?
But I think, let us not also... President is putting always data and facts. The only thing he knows is that before you confirm, it's already sold out. So he will tell you the percentage, and he knows everybody will be listening to the percentage. But when you correct that percentage, not everybody will be listening to it. So when he says that we have 76% of this, everybody in the country listen to 76%. When you now correct that data to be 40%, who listens to that? So who knows that it was wrong?
Actually, you heard what he said here about now the journalist.
Yeah.
Let me play this again so that now you can. I think whatever you are talking about, just listen to this.
Juzi wakati nilitoa taarifa yangu ya State of the Nation address, vyombo vya habari walikuwa wanahangaika. Wengine wanasema sijui Ruto amesema, sijui wale watu wanafanya kazi affordable housing, sijui ni 450, sijui ni 600,000, sijui ni ngapi, ati numbers are conflicting. Hiyo ni sawa. At least we agree on one thing. Hamukuamini ya kwamba inawezekana. We are now arguing about numbers, kama ni 400,000 ama ni 600. Hiyo ni sawa, tuendelee kuongea tu hapo, lakini kazi inafanya nini? Kazi inaendelea, na vijana wako wapi? Wako kazini. So arguing about which number is right, statistics, hiyo ni sawa. At least we have settled one thing, that something is happening in our country. Transformation is happening in our country. We can argue on the numbers, we can argue on the statistics, we can argue on this or the other, but we all agree that we are moving forward as a country.
Well, so now I will ask you, okay, now we argue about numbers like we are doing right now here, but is it like, can we also attest or confirm that something is happening in the country?
But why did he lie in the first place? Because he cannot tell us that he doesn't have the ability to get the right numbers. So why did he lie? What was the intention of him? Because he's admitting he lied in numbers.
Yes.
And he's saying that the numbers are conflicting. So he's first of all admitting he lied in numbers. But the question is, why did he lie in numbers? He has Kenya Bureau of Standard, he has Treasury, he has everything else that can give him a perfect number.
Yes.
Why did he decide to lie? So that tells you that there's something is hiding. But yes, something is going on. Now, if something is going on, why do you want to add the numbers?
Why do you want to exaggerate?
Yeah, that's the first question. If you are sure that something, we agree. Tunaona manyumba zinaamka hapa, zinainuliwa, si ndio?
Yes.
But why do you want to lie kwamba manyumba zimeinuliwa ni kiasi fulani? Does it mean that you are lying for somebody who pays or bankroll something like that so that you can go back with the same numbers to ask for more loans? Because you have known and it's coming out clearly that kumbe hii jina ya hii affordable housing tunalipa tax na pia kuna ingine inatolewa mahali kama loan inawekwa hapa. So you are giving fake numbers so that somebody who you want to go and borrow money from knows that these are actual numbers you are giving out, you see? So that you can take more money out of that fake numbers while you tell us we know the real numbers. But what I'm telling you is one thing. You know, the president enjoys the state machineries. The president enjoys the ability to make his information reach your grandmother before you make yours. And the fact that your grandmother listened to that number of 400,000 and you're now coming to correct to 100,000, she will never know that. So she'll always be sure that yenyewe serikali solisikia president alisema ametoa hapa kafika hapa ameenda hapa kaenda hapa. Of course, every president must do a progress. Sidhani kama kuna president ambaye kuja akatoa namba fulani akarudisha kwingine. Every president does some
There's
progress.
a progress, yes.
But that progress must be genuine so that we can know how we can constructively criticize it. But when it is fake, you try now to change the narrative. But what I wanted to point out again on the same speech,
yes,
that the president will use these numbers. I'm suspecting he will go to the villages. He will walk in every door. He will speak this fake number. And we who want to remove him or want to replace him will not have the ability to speak the same numbers to our villagers, to our mothers, to every door. And that means he will win with these numbers. What will happen? It means that we are going to suffer more. So the president must, first of all, don't take us like we are fools. We know numbers. And I like what media is doing. As when you media imekuwa ikihangaika. But why should media hangaika? Kwani media imekuwa opposition? You know, when you start painting media that media inahangaika, it means you are giving a negative connotation to media. It means you are saying that media doesn't want you. So why should media stop liking you when you, because you are trying to bring an enmity between yourself and media. So you have to say that, okay, I'm the one who proved the reality, media in our danganya. You see, that contest should not be there. The media always is a mirror of the community and the society. The media is the only thing that let my mother or my father knows what's going on in the country. And if you want to say that the media is like flop-sided, that you want to do anything else, you look at what the Standard sometimes has been putting here, and you come with all claims. But have you ever seen somebody moving to court to say that what was posted in Standard or was Star or whatever was fake? So it means these numbers are true, but the problem that the moment we come to correct, the damage has already been made, and that damage we cannot correct it very easily.
My take will be, of course something is going on. If you look around, you'll see houses coming up. The only problem that we have is, first of all, accountability. William Ruto should understand that he's not doing these things for his own behalf. He's doing it on behalf of Kenyans.
The taxpayer.
And the taxpayer. It's not his money. It's the Kenyans' money. So wherever we take him to account, it does not mean that we are challenging him for the sake of it. We are challenging him because we want to get facts. And we've entrusted him with the responsibility so that he can tell us what is true. For the last 3 months, Kenya has borrowed, the last 3 months for the financial year 2025-2026, Kenya has borrowed about 438 billion shillings, right? The last 3 months. And again, the president during his address said that in the next 10 years, we are going to fund projects without borrowing any penny from outside. I'm really hoping that that time will come. Because right now, our national debt is standing at 12 trillion. That is the true state of the nation. In fact, the true state of the nation is that every 100 shillings you get, 80 shillings is going to pay debt. May it be bills, may it be loans, may it be anything. You remain with 20 shillings. So, the true state of the nation is that we've overborrowed than we can get value for that money. Right? The true state of the nation is that we are auctioning our state departments. We are selling our public assets to individuals, and we don't really know who are these individuals, right? So the president needs to understand that when we seek accountability, we are not doing it for the sake of it. And he should understand that we are not his opponents. Wherever he's addressing people, he appears to be addressing the critics more than he's addressing Kenyans. He should be telling Kenyans, no, the media said this, but the fact is this, I've corrected myself. I was telling lies. Because these are the same people he's serving. He should not address them like opponents. Every day is in war. We don't need a president who is in war with his own citizens. You wake up, you're just ready to water down even positive criticism. So the president needs to understand that all we are asking from him is to tell the truth, to paint the true picture of the nation, because this is our nation. And then we can chant the way forward on how we can better the lives of the citizens of our country.
Actually, let's also hear what he said about the estimates. How much is needed to make this come true?
Estimates indicate that achieving these 4 priorities will require at least 5 trillion. This is undeniably a large sum. Our critics, the high priests of eternal pessimism, who criticize without responsibility and tear down without offering alternatives, will want you to believe that our economy is going in the wrong direction.
Okay. As I said, they promised that we are going to fund projects worth 5 trillion in the next 10 years using the consolidated fund, without borrowing any money from outside.
So you want to be here for the next 10 years plus 3. That is 13 years.
That's a good point. However, all we can say is that how are we going? The president promised not to borrow. In fact, one of his campaign strategies in 2022 was to criticize the borrowing of the Uhuru regime. But right now, he inherited a debt of about, is it 8 trillion, 8.7 trillion. Right now, which is 3 years into his presidency, we are talking about a debt of 12 trillion. The question that comes in is that, how is he going to guarantee Kenyans that these 5 trillion worth of projects are going to be funded by the what? And actually, when you look at the housing levy, when you look at all these deductions, especially in the new taxation, they've been invested in securities and bonds, and they're giving profits for it, you know. But that money is not being used to run government projects. They're actually borrowing from outside. In 3 months, we borrowed over 400 billion. That's a lot of money. What is our debt burden? Actually, there was is it the Institute of
Economic Affairs?
Economic Affairs. They've said that they're giving a platform where people can actually see the true national debt and actually follow it up when we repay, when we do this. I remember back then there was a conversation about what is our actual national debt.
Yes.
Right? This one was giving these figures, this one was giving these figures. And then there was the issue of empty coffers. So we are moving from one point to another, but it relates to the economy. We need to understand what is our national debt. We've been told is 12 trillion. How much are we repaying of that debt? We need to be told at what rate are we repaying? What are the plans to repay this 12 trillion? Instead of telling us that we have a pending, bill of 5 trillion that we need to raise in the next 10 years, tell us that we are in this hole, right, of 12 trillion. Are we going to get ourselves out of this hole of 12 trillion? At what rate are we paying? What is the balance? What is the excesses? We need to get the difference. There is a lot of opaqueness in how we are repaying our national debt. And that is the major challenge that we are facing. And this brings in the conversation about odious debt. This debt was acquired after the law was altered with. You borrow, but the money does not need to hit the consolidated fund. How are we sure that this money made its way to Kenya? And how are we sure whether this money did what it was intended to do? The president should have addressed that. In fact, instead of MPs clapping and giving a standing ovation for the president, they should have told the president, we need to rectify this law. Let all the money go through the consolidated fund so that we can curb excessive spending and also corruption. We cannot build a Singapore without fighting corruption.
But who do we have this loan? Who is this person who says we have alitupia deni? As much as I know we are having effort of what we have as deni, how much we are repaying, I'm interested to know who thinks that we took on deni yake. Ni nani huyu mwenye alichangia hii pesa ikafika 12 trillion? So if it's IMF tuambie tuko na deni yao ngapi? Unaona? We need to, and I want to challenge the Institute of Economic Affairs Institute. Go extra mile to give us the names of those individuals. Those institutions wenye wanasema tuko na pesa yao. Tupangie jina hao kutoka juu paka chini. Utuambie kwamba ni kama ni KCB tuko na pesa yake fulani, kama ni IMF tuko na pesa yake fulani, kama ni China tuko na pesa yake fulani, ilichukuliwa siku fulani, ilifanywa kitu fulani. We really want to know that because accountability goes to the extra level that possible. But one thing is mtu akiwa na deni hiyo kiwango bado anafikiria kuchukua deni ya trilioni 5. Surely.
Well, again, I think also what they also need to add on is the cost of these loans, because actually what is costing us much, it's not even the principal amount of the loan.
Yeah.
The costs associated with these loans, the costs that keep on growing every other day. So I think that is also important as they are checking on who is this mwenye ametukopesha, alitukopesha, what was the principal amount, and up to date, how much is it in terms of the principal plus the interest and any other fees.
But look, for example, this Talanta thing. See, there was this Talanta stadium. Ilikuja kwa news, I think, the other day, that you are going to repay 145 billion of a loan that was around 40 billion. So nikuulize, there was nobody who could give, the government did not have 40 billion that they were compared now to borrow 40 billion so that they repay 140 billion. They didn't have 40 billion in the entire budget of 3 trillion. They did not have 40 billion to construct this Talanta so that now we can borrow the 40 billion from somewhere where we will pay 145 billion. The same thing going with the PPP. These roads he's saying is going to extend. He's mentioned so many roads. So roads, Bona, now roads have become private. I don't know since when roads become private that you have to pay for them. They're a good thing, and my people from the other side of the lake are really appreciating. In fact, some of them are telling me, Ruto akitufungulia barabara ya kwenda Kisumu na tukue na hiyo barabara tunaweza fika in 4 hours. Mimi tapigia kura. But you don't understand the impact that this road is going to cost you over 30 years. 30 years. And why should you pay 30 years and you're still paying tax that should go to construct a road? So you pay extra for another 30 years. Hiyo kora ndio town Uhuru alitufanyia hapa. Hii vitu yake expressway hii. Of course sometimes you use it and it's very good that you get to the city easily. But did we not have that 60 or 27 billion to have an expressway that could not cost us those 67 trillion?
Well, I think also that is also a question of those people who surround now the president or whoever is making such kind of a decision of going to borrow for these funds. It's now the people around, because when you're sitting down and making your plans, you want to go and borrow. You also look at the cost. Like this thing, if I take it for this period of time, this is the much that will be added on the principle that I have. Yeah, I think that is also one of the key things. And this one, we don't just blame on maybe one person. It is a blame because we have people who sit down. We have a committee of people, people who sit down and discuss about the issues of borrowing.
Actually, the main problem started, was it in 2013? When they changed the law and said that you can borrow money and it does not need to reach the consolidated fund. Now the challenge comes in, you borrowed money. They will definitely go for the Shylock loans because they want money that can be processed within a very short period of time with little or no restrictions. So that for them, they are doing it on behalf of the sovereign, but the sovereign is not involved through parliament. And initially, the law stated that you needed to parliament had to approve any loan that you had to take because they are the representatives of the people in parliament, so that the sovereign can be involved in the process of taking these loans. But now we are living in very interesting times where a president can decide, I'm going to China and I'm going to meet the Chinese. Can you do an analysis? So and so, this we can get money from this institution. Okay, let's do this. Let's take them. Who are going to be the security of that money? We are the people.
It's you and your grandchildren.
Because we are the people who are going to repay. The last time they checked, an unborn child in this country had a loan of 100,000 to repay. So you come in where you're living on debt, right? This debt is now suffocating us. But what do we have to do? What do we have to do?
But Nikuulize two simple question. It may be a layman question, but it's a question that provokes a lot. And I remember the speech of Thomas Sankara in 1983, or the OAU sitting in 1983 or 1986, when he was giving a famous speech about debt. And Thomas Sankara says something very interesting, that those who loaned us were in a business of making profits and risk. Now, why, if they lose, they come to bother us? And then they make profit, they don't share with us. Second thing, he has simple question. If we pay loan today, how are we going to survive? If we pay loan today, my kid maybe might not go to school, all those things, they might not even afford it. But if we don't pay the loan, will the person who lend us die? Si akona pesa ingine. So atakufa wapi? You see, this is a gamble. Hata wewe ukiweka pesa yako mahali umejua inaweza, kama these guys who play aviator, ikianguka na ndege imeanguka. So they put their money, imepotea. Kwani watachukua hii nchi waende wa auction? Wataweka nchi yetu, list in London Stock Exchange kwamba we are selling Kenya because they have refused to pay our money. Let them go look for individuals who borrow those money. As it is very clear, and the law is very clear. If individuals went to China na kina hiyo timu yao wote wakaenda kuomba pesa yao, wafuate hiyo pesa Sugoi. Waende huko Northland mahali Uhuru wako. Watafute hiyo pesa mahali iko. Mimi kukuja kwangu mwenye na hustle, hata natafuta mwenye nakula na niambia niko na deni yako.
Well, I think ile tu kizungumza tu kama wa Kenya, of course, if the president goes out and borrows on behalf of the country, is borrowing on behalf of yourself.
But what it takes to be on behalf.
Now, the problem is now these loans, what I am calling upon our leaders is when they are going out to borrow these loans, they should also be considerate. They should look at, how much is this loan going to cost us? And what is the effect, the impact even on the citizens of the country? Because sometimes it is not a priority, it is not an emergency. the roads that you're talking about are not emergencies, such that you want to go and secure a loan that is so costly. You get? So I think that is where now the problem is. Well, borrowing is not a problem, but of course there's a limit to borrowing. But again, also, why are we borrowing on things that are not really like borrowing at high cost on things that are not an emergency? It's not something that is so
actually
important.
The conversation should start as, why are we borrowing? That is the first question. Secondly, after we've borrowed this money, at what interest? The way that you've put it.
Yes.
What is the cost of this loan? Because these are products that you are purchasing from out there, right? So you need to ask yourself, at what cost are we getting this? But now the problem that solves that, this person knows he's in power for 5 years. If he's lucky, he can renew his leadership in another 5 years. So let us take as much as we can. We don't know about tomorrow. That is the mentality that is putting us where we are. Because there's a regime change. So these people will say, as much as we might not get re-elected, let us get value for our money. Let us get value for our time. Let us take enough so that it can run us the rest of our lives. No. But at the expense of who? At the expense of the Kenyan voter.
No, what Victor said first is very important.
Wait, we've inherited debt from Uhuru Kenyatta's regime.
Yes.
Uhuru has not been held accountable. His government, the entire government, has not been held accountable. In fact, they are posing another solution elsewhere. They are telling you now this regime is bad, but I can bring this person, There is no accountability. They are running away from accountability. Our institutions are so weak to hold these people to account.
No, Victor, you raised something very important. You are borrowing on our behalf. So, as you're saying, borrowing is not bad. But there's a procedure for you to borrow on our behalf. That was in law. That the parliament who represent us must approve that so that you go borrow. But now when the parliament who represent us did not approve you going to borrow, then you're saying it's not bad. If it is for our interest, why don't the parliamentarians approve it first? Because they represent our interest. But you wake up from State House, ukienda njia zako za China, you pass with some 10 billion, you come back and you say it's for your interest. Even in your house, if I leave my house today and come back and my wife tells me nikopa deni ya 1,000, surely. So will I say that kukopa haikuwa mbaya? No, there's a procedure, and those procedures are in law. So that if the procedures are not followed, and the president knows the procedure, therefore anybody who borrowed any loan without the approval of our representatives must pay for those loans.
Well, that one is
actually,
that one is fair.
Just to add on it, the worst again thing that happened after now repealing that act of giving parliament the powers to decide whether we are borrowing or not, at what cost and everything, it's now the PPP Act. The public-private partnership is the worst thing again. That's another form of loan which is coming. It's like an investor coming in to invest. It comes in, if we give ourselves like 10 years to come, we might not own any institution in this country. We shall be just tenants. Kenyans will be tenants in their own country because you will not be owning any institution. Private investors will be dictating how you get your water, the basic needs, how you get food, how you get shelter, how you get education, how you get everything. Even the University of Nairobi was going to be given out. I don't know whether they are done with that process.
Actually, I think that is the next thing that we are supposed to look at before we finish, because we have around 14 minutes remaining. So I want you to listen to this.
Place before you 3 vellum copies for your assent. The first one is the Capital Markets Amendment Bill, which was a bill that was introduced in the National Assembly by the leader of Majority Party, having gone through the Cabinet. That bill, Your Excellency, is one of those that the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury undertook to bring to Parliament when he was reading the budget in June last year. Your Excellency, the second bill to come before you is a small one. It's a Provisional Collection of Taxes Repeal Bill. Simply a cleanup of our law book. The last one, Your Excellency, is a Government-Owned Enterprises Bill, the GOE Bill 2025. This bill was introduced in the National Assembly by the leader of the Majority Party, having been received from the Cabinet through the Office of the Attorney General. The bill, Your Excellency, introduces new ways in which the government will be making investments in its own entities.
Yeah, quite important, worth noting. Because most of the time, by the way, we complain when things have gone way too far. That's when now Kenyans come out to complain. Well, we've heard about the bills that we are talking about. That one of commercializing actually is what I know, that is what is eating many Kenyans, and it's worth noting. Of course, we also have the one for the county government's additional allocations bill 2025, whereby they've been added an addition of 70.6 billion, yes, for the year 2025-2026. Yes, from the national, 9.98 billion from a national revenue share for doctors, health promoter areas and infrastructure, and 57.7 billion sourced from development partners for county projects. And then we also have that one for capital markets. Of course, it's about modernizing the capital markets. Yeah. Modernizing the capital markets, removing certain shareholding limits and improving the ease of doing business in the sector. And then we are talking of the provisional collection of taxes, which is an appeal, which repeals the 1929 colonial era statute, which allowed Parliament to provisionally collect taxes before full legislation. So it's aligning a tax law with the constitutional mandates. And then now we are talking of that one for commercialization, whereby now these private entities, the government, these parastatals now, some of them now will be commercialized such that they will operate like limited companies. We are talking of now, this has become, it was a government parastatal, right now it has become a company, a limited.
Yeah. I heard about that. They said that the process of registration of that company is ongoing.
Yes.
And actually, they are in the final stages. All I can say is this: we have little time left. All I can say is this: we need to ask ourselves: is capitalism really working for us? If not, why don't we try alternatives like communism or socialism? Because when you look at China is what it is today because they nationalize all strategic state resources. Why did they nationalize strategic state resources? These are resources that we need for our survival, right? Healthcare, education, security, water, food, and everything.
Electricity, yes.
Electricity. They are factors of production. The state took control of them so that they can ensure that there is no monopoly in that field, and they can ensure that it's leveled, so that every person or every Kenyan can access these services without discrimination. Right now, we are talking about doing business with the state. We are going to do business with very crucial services that Kenyans really need for their survival. And who is that person? As I give my brother some time, because I know we don't have time right now, there's someone who said, I think he's a Zimbabwean, he said this: the colonizer will come back. Yes, we've chased him, but he will come back now as an investor, right? He will come and he will take over the strategic sectors of the economy, and we shall live and beg under his mercies. When the state decides to commercialize government institutions, it means that they're going to individuals are going to determine prices and the quality of services that Kenyans are going to get. But who owns these institutions in the first place? It's the Kenyans. These institutions have been funded by the Kenyan, the taxpayer. These institutions, the labor force that has built and the brains that have built this institution to where they are right now, it's Kenyans. Did they get value for the investments? Now you are selling them. How sure are we that this money is going back to the Kenyans? But why would you sell institutions so that you can give direct? Are we going to be paid in our bank accounts the money that is going to be sold these institutions? They are going to corruption. And who are the leaders of corruption? They are the people holding the instruments of power right now. So this is the highest level of economic oppression going on in this country. And Kenyans will come to realize when the effects start catching up with them. They will not realize now when it's being read on paper. But you will be told, this law was passed, where were you? The finance bill, we went to the streets, we lost lives. But now they came up with a strategy of implementing the things that were in that finance bill, one after another, by distracting us with all other sorts of stories. This is the right time for us to stand up as Kenyans so that we can fight for our economic rights. Right now, the economic revolution should actually begin yesterday, not even today.
If there's one reason why we must remove Ruto, is that thing. Because Ruto is selling a government, is converting government to a private institution. You cannot convert a government to a private institution. This nonsense called PPP is a scam and is a way on how you can take over what is government to give into a private hand. The process of even getting those people who bid for those PPP, how do we know it? Who are the shareholders of those PPP who come in to buy those state operations? And why do you sell a state operation? Because you're saying you're making profit. When our taxes are not enough for you. So must you sustain your livelihood of a government and sell everything we have so that you can continue just living lavish life of moving up and down with so many alliances and so many things. So I think where we are, we must realize if there's any way the government is going to slip from our hands, is this thing called PPP. The government is going. Tukiona hivi peupe, it is going. It's no longer going to be a government. It's going to be a public entity. Mahali ukiwa na shareholder, you speak. Kama una shares, kakando. Because actually, this is where we are. We have put businessmen into government. They're not privatizing government as we look for it. And they bring issue na ati kuna profit na interest itatokea. Siji profit na interest itatokea hapa na pale. Those are fake stories. The government belongs to the people, not to an individual.
Well, I want to ask a question because most of the time these parastatals are entities that are getting financing from the government. They are taking in our taxes, but a majority of them are always making losses. You yourself there, because you're against the PPP, yeah? What would you suggest would be the solution?
Have we really clarified that they make losses? Because there's a story that's always being put, ndo tuweze kupata njia kuiuza. You see? Because tell me, if an institution, for example, look for some of these institutions they want to privatize. Kama KICC, wanasema ina make losses, ndio? Ilijengwa na pesa serikali. Inalipa nani rent? They make loss in the first place. Tuanzie hapo. Nyumba yote.
Okay, we talk of maybe losses, maybe in terms of the operations, the operational costs.
It is about administration. Si wali change leadership kidogo ya hii nini Kenya Airways ama whatever. Zinaanza ku make profit. Si Kenya may record some profit sometimes back here. Kwani wali privatize. The issues of losses in institutions are about management. Why are private institutions that have the same leadership that is focused making profit? Do you want to tell me hata privatize leo itapeana muinda itapeana Mkenya? Na mbona huyu Mkenya ata make profit ikiwa private na ikiwa public is not make now profit?
Yeah, because when it is about public mali ya umma, that is also a perception that is also making that is dragging us behind that mentality of ini mali ya umma, aina specific person. So that's why I think that's why somebody will just go to office, they hang their coat there and disappear the whole day. Somebody is supposed to be there working, they disappear the whole day. They go, they do their personal issues. So at the end of the day, this person is getting a salary. This person there are also other direct or indirect costs related to him being in that office. So at the end of the day, we end up in losses as a country, because this is a parastatal, this is a government body.
So we sell it.
I think what happens is that there is lack of accountability, and also there is that laxity that how did you get selected for this position in the first place? It's through nepotism, it's through corruption. Right now we were seeing our boomer parents, they're the only people who can pay $500,000 bribe so that you can be employed. So when someone has paid $500,000 for you to be employed and you're well connected out there, so the output of your work is not really audited. And again, those people, orders from above. So you find that someone wants to get to government with his own people. Once he gets to government with his own people, during Uhuru's regime, we got rumors that there was money going to Karen. Cash money. being carried going to Garissa. So you find that these state corporations, they are milked dry by the leadership, and they're deliberately made not to work, so that they can paint a picture that the government is not able now to run this. Let us bring in a private investor. This private investor comes in, all of a sudden it booms. That tells you that this is the person who is in charge on the other side, is the person who exchanges the seat. Is in that side. He has known how this state agency works. He comes this side so that now they can kill it from that side and come and privatize this side and make the billions that Kenyans were supposed to make.
Well, okay, I think that is fair enough. And it's quite unfair. It's quite unfair that we are at these levels as a country. We have 1.5 minutes remaining to call off the show. So I want you to give us in seconds your final submission as well as the victors, and then now we can call it a day.
To the citizens who suffer, they're the people who can change the country. If you think that the politicians who don't suffer will make a country better for you, you'll die expecting and hoping that. It's high time that the citizens must take responsibility to try create the country they want, be the leaders they want, struggle to make the change they want, no matter the cost.
William Ruto is busy creating a bourgeoisie community, and where the people that owns the means of production are the same people are controlling the state. They've now unashamedly come out and they're showing it live to our faces, and they're saying that there's nothing new people are going to do. We're going to privatize this country. We're going to privatize all means of production, and what will be left of the proletariats is just to wake up very early in the morning, go labor for those who control the means of production, and go back home with peanuts so that they can try to afford the basic needs which they can live without. But I want to tell the proletariats or the working class that you wield the power. You have the powers in your hands because you're the people who are making these wheels of economic transformation to work. You have the power in your hands so that you can stop the entire chain and make these people do what exactly you want to be done in this country. We must reclaim our economic power, and the time is now. Economic liberation, economic freedom, viva economic power, viva.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for this conversation. And of course, to the listeners there, those are our personal opinions, views and submissions. So they do not reflect the position of the company. Therefore, we are calling it a night. Thank you so much. We've had a wonderful show.